The Priestess's time travel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 801 The Little Monster 13 Who Saved Himself. A few days later, Emperor Taizong convened a Buddhist meeting at Yanta Temple, where Tang Sanzang chanted the sutras retrieved from the Lian Temple in the west. Everyone in Chang'an City ran to Yanta Temple to listen to the monks chanting and personally participate in this Buddhist event. The emperor and the bigwigs of the court were all going to attend this event, and they considerately gave their subordinates a holiday, so Direnji didn't have to go to work and followed Cao Xiaoyang, Huaiyan and Su Qingni to Yanta Temple. With Cao Xiaoyang leading the way and Huaiyan protecting him, the weak scholar Direnji easily came to the front of the crowd and stood behind a group of high-ranking officials and nobles. Well, privileges are prioritized everywhere. Tang Sanzang climbed onto the high platform and should chant Buddhist scriptures. The Buddhist scriptures entered the ears of the crowd, and everyone had different reactions. Some people listened to and understood the contents of the sutra, some people listened to it but it went in one ear and out the other, some people seemed to have some realizations, while others scratched their heads. Huaiyan and Cao Xiaoyang really listened to it and had some realizations. Although they practiced Taoism, Buddha is Taoism, and there are many things in common. Second brother and Monkey King Shamunk sat behind Tang Sanzang. Both he and Monkey King could not sit still. Monkey King had already used his monkey heart to transform himself into an incarnation, and his original body slipped out to relax. Second brother could sit still better than Monkey King. He did not run away, but half drooped his head to cover his eyes that were rolling around to look at the beauties and concubines around Emperor Taizong. Well, Emperor Taizong's concubines were all beauties. What a sin. Emperor Taizong was an old man, but he actually took such a young girl as his concubine. This one is only 15 or 16 years old, right? It really fits the poem, a tree of pear blossoms overshadows a crabapple tree. Oh, this lady is so beautiful, the most beautiful among all the concubines, and her temperament is also unique. So, why does he feel that there is something familiar about this woman? Damn. This woman is the reincarnation of Maitreya Buddha. Damn. The layout of the West is amazing. They actually use such a method to compete with the heaven for the luck of the East. This calculation. I admire it. Should I tell the heaven? This is a question. The second brother thought and thought, but he didn't come up with a conclusion, but he moved his eyes away from the concubines in the harem. If he had the courage, he would not dare to look there again. Then look at other beauties. Well, there are several beauties over there who are good-looking. Hey, that girl is the best. She is good-looking, has a good temperament, and has innate energy. She is a person who is practicing. Hey, the two children around this beauty look familiar. Where have you seen them? Su Qingni felt the second brother's gaze projected on her, raised her eyes, looked at the second brother, and showed a bright smile. The second senior brother was startled. Isn't this kid? The second senior brother immediately used the magic of incarnation, leaving a fake second senior brother on the stage, and the real body flew down. The next moment, a tall and strong man appeared beside Su Qingni. The big man had a square face, and he was indeed not a handsome man, but he also had regular features, which was in line with a public aesthetic. Little friend, what's your name? The big man smiled and looked like a strange uncle. Su Qingni. Su Qingni performed Taoist etiquette for the big man and said, Boy Bai Wu, meet the third generation of the human sect. The big man's eyebrows frowned, and the smile on his face disappeared. You are not an ordinary person, boy. Who are you? Which powerful disciple are you? Su Qingni looked around, and the big man understood, grabbed Su Qingni's hand, and disappeared with her figure. Su Qingni sent a message to the three people who stayed behind. Don't worry, I will meet my friends and will be back soon. Direnji frowned and asked Huaiyan, do you know that big man? Huaiyan shook his head blankly, I have never seen him. Direnji, Bai Wu knows that big man. Huaiyan said, my brother is better than me. It is normal for him to know some people I don't know. Only my brother has seen our master. Direnji reached out and touched Huaiyan's head. It's good to have a big heart. This way, you won't be jealous of your brother and can always maintain a good brotherly relationship with your brother. Having said that, Direnji stopped asking Huaiyan, but he was still worried about Su Qingni who left. Su Qingni and the big man came to the top floor of the big wild goose pagoda. They were high above, and no one around could hear their conversation. However, Su Qingni still set up a barrier to guard against the gods in the sky. The big man was very curious about the barrier set up by Su Qingni. This move seemed very clever, and he also confirmed Su Qingni's idea of learning from a great master. Then the child in front of him is Qimulang's son. It should be that great man who rescued the two children and used magic to fool him and Shaseng, and even fooled the people in the heaven and the west. With such means, this great man is definitely a master at the level of his master. However, weren't the master and his people imprisoned outside the 33 heavens? How could they come to the human world? The big man was puzzled, and a little expectation rose in his heart. If the master and the master can really come back from the 33 heavens, then the situation between the east and the west will change. The Taoist sect has 3 saints to support it, while the west has only 2 saints. The plan of Western Buddhism to move eastward will be stranded. Haha. Haha. You are Qimulang's youngest son. The big man, that is, the second senior brother, said firmly. Su Qingni nodded readily. Since the second senior brother recognized him, there was nothing to hide. She had a feeling that the second senior brother would not tell others that she and Huan were still alive. The second senior brother looked at her with a strange look just now, and it was this look that made Su Qingni feel relieved. I don't know what this second brother has in mind, but it is definitely good for her and Huan. Moreover, her current strength has recovered more than half, and her current strength can beat Monkey King and the second brother. Even if she attracts the Buddha and the highest leader of the heavenly court, with the protection of the Kyankanding, she will not be hurt by them. Who is your master? The second brother continued to ask. I understand that the second brother is afraid of her fictitious master. So, who should she let be her master? The 3 pure ones? Newer? The 2 saints of the west? Forget it. Isn't she just a head shorter than them? She will be laughed at when she returns to the witch world. Ancestor Hongjin. This person has already merged with the Tao, and this world should also have his legend. The second brother will not believe that Ancestor Hongjin will have a selfish desire to accept disciples after merging with the Tao. So, who is his master? Su Qingni said, my master is called Ancestor Yangmani. Second brother, Ancestor Yangmani. Who? I haven't heard of this name. Chapter 802 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself Ziv. Master is from the same era as Hongjin Daozu. Su Qingni began to deceive the second senior brother. Patriarch Yangmai was a fictional character in the prehistoric novel. At least Su Qingni had never seen Patriarch Yangmai since entering the prehistoric world. She didn't know whether he really existed or whether he had been hiding in the chaos. When Pangu created the world, there were 3,000 gods and demons in the chaos. Patriarch Yangmai and Patriarch Hongjin were both among the 3,000. Later, when Pangu created the world, the 3,000 gods and demons were almost all killed by Pangu, and only 1 or 2 survived. Those who survived were all very powerful. The gods and demons that survived chose different paths in order to continue living. Patriarch Hongjin followed the way of heaven, became a prehistoric saint, and merged himself with the way. Patriarch Yangmai has been hiding in the chaos, cultivating to the realm of a saint in the chaos, and has no cause and effect with the prehistoric world. He comes to the prehistoric world to play every once in a while. Wait? The second senior brother made a pause gesture and asked doubtfully, the chaos is extremely dangerous, even saints cannot survive for a long time. How could Patriarch Yangmai live in the chaos? The ancestor is different from other saints. Not to mention that the ancestor became a saint in the chaos, the ancestor on the stage was one of the 3,000 demons living in the chaos before. He is best at space magic and masters the rules of space. How can he not have the ability to live in the chaos? The second brother was convinced by Su Qingni's words. I didn't expect there is such a powerful existence. This explains why other saints are imprisoned outside the 33 heavens and cannot show up, but this one can travel freely on the earth and save people. This one is not subject to the heavenly way at all, nor is it subject to the Hongjin Patriarch. The second brother looked at Su Qingni with envy and jealousy. Being saved by such a great man, this kid is a blessing in disguise, right? It's a pity for Qimulang. If he had more father-son affection for the 2 children at the beginning, he could also benefit from it now, right? It's a pity that he gave up the 2 children for his own future and safety, and now he can't benefit from it at all. Marshal, I hope you can keep the matter of the ancestor Yangmai confidential. The ancestor doesn't want too many people to know about his existence. Su Qingni said. This. The second senior brother hesitated. He felt that this was a big thing that had to be reported to Laojin. Can I just tell Laojin? Su Qingni understood the relationship between the second senior brother and Taishang Laojin. The second senior brother dared to fool even the Jade Emperor and Tathagata, but he would never dare to fool Taishang Laojin. Who said that Taishang Laojin was the good corpse of the Saint Laozi? Su Qingni nodded. Thank you. After thanking Su Qingni, the second senior brother wanted to build a relationship with Su Qingni, so that she would understand that he had no choice but to throw her and Huayan to death, so that Su Qingni would not hate him. There was no way. He now had a powerful master, and his strength was rising rapidly. Now even he could not see what realm the little guy was in. What if the little guy hated him and wanted to attack him? He might not be the little guy's opponent. He must get rid of the hatred and make friends with the little guy. Well, it wasn't my intention to attack you and your brother. It was your father's order. You should understand that your existence is a stain on your father, and it is the evidence of the punishment of your father by the heavenly court. Second senior brother coughed and said. Su Qingni said that she understood and she would not blame second senior brother. Second senior brother was just an executor. Besides, second senior brother is such a savvy and smooth person, it is a good choice to make friends with him. The two were talking, and suddenly they felt that the 8 Vajra in the air were about to make some moves. I'm going back. I'll talk to you again when I have a chance. Second senior brother waved to Su Qingni. It's fun to chat with you. This kid must have heard a lot of secrets from his master, some of which even he, the third-generation disciple, didn't know. After second senior brother finished speaking, his figure disappeared. Su Qingni walked to the window, looked down, and saw that second senior brother had been switched back, his eyes rolling. At this moment, a fragrant wind suddenly blew down from the sky, lingering in the temples and the like, and everyone who smelled it was refreshed. 8 majestic Vajra appeared in the air and shouted to Tang Sanzang below, put down the scriptures, those who recite scriptures, and follow me back to the west. As soon as the voice fell, Tang Sanzang flew up into the air involuntarily, stepped on the white clouds, and stood with the 8 Vajra. The second brother and Monkey King Shamunk, including the white dragon horse, followed and flew up into the air. Seeing that everyone was together, the 8 Vajra led them to the west. Emperor Taizong and a group of court officials and people hurriedly knelt down to pay their respects. Emperor Taizong looked at the figure disappearing in the air and burst into tears. Everyone thought that he was reluctant to part with his brother. Emperor Taizong stretched out his hand. Tang Sanzang, come back to me. You haven't left me the method and elixir of immortality. Come back. Come back. Su Qingni, Durenji and the other two returned to their own courtyard. Durenji and the other two were very excited to talk about the 8 Vajra appearing and taking away Tang Sanzang and his disciples. Su Qingni watched them discuss and went into the kitchen to make dinner. Su Qingni was in a good mood today and made a very rich dinner, which satisfied the other 3. After dinner, Durenji took the initiative to wash the dishes. Su Qingni walked to his side and said, this day is about to change. Durenji. Su Qingni, the emperor, who was originally sick in bed, suddenly got better and took the initiative to go out of the city to welcome Tang Sanzang. Why do you think this is? The clever Durenji thought about it and understood, seeking immortals and asking Buddha is only for longevity. Su Qingni, Tang Sanzang left. Durenji, the emperor did not get the method of longevity. Su Qingni, heaven does not allow the emperor to live forever. This is a balance. Durenji sighed. The next day, Durenji went to work at the government office, and as expected, he heard from his boss that Emperor Taizong was ill again. This time, Emperor Taizong's illness was more severe, and the imperial doctors were helpless. Durenji was well prepared, and sure enough, within a few days, Emperor Taizong passed away. When Emperor Gaozong came to power, Durenji's position was taken away because his confidants worked for their own benefit. Durenji was a little unhappy, and just then he received a letter from home saying that his grandmother had passed away, so Durenji resigned from his official position and returned to his hometown to mourn. Cao Xianoyang naturally wanted to go back to his hometown with Durenji. Huayan and Su Qingni couldn't go with him, so they left a book of magic spells to Cao Xianoyang, and the 4 of them separated. Huayan and Su Qingni said goodbye to Durenji and Cao Xianoyang outside the city of Chang'an. Huayan shed tears, he really couldn't bear to leave his 2 friends, Cao Xianoyang and Durenji. Chapter 803 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself. Huayan has only had Beiwu, his brother, by his side since he was young. He has no friends but his relatives. Cao Xianhuang and Erangji are the only two friends he knows. They are sincere friends with Huayan, and Huayan really can't bear to leave them. Brother, don't be sad. Su Qingni comforted Huayan. Let's come back to visit them when we have the chance in the future. Really? Huayan held back his tears and looked at Su Qingni expectantly. Su Qingni nodded. When your strength is stronger, we don't have to be afraid of others anymore, and we can travel freely to various places and go wherever we want. Then can we go to heaven again? Huayan asked. I want to see my father again. Su Qingni nodded. Sure enough, he is still a child. Let's go overseas first and find a place to settle down. Su Qingni said. Huayan followed Su Qingni into the sky, and the two flew eastward. This has always been their goal. There are many islands overseas, no one lives there, and the gods and Buddhas don't pay much attention to them. The two can just find an island to occupy and be king. Now the strength of the two people has increased a lot compared to before they came to Chang'an, and they soon flew to the seaside. Huayan saw the endless sea, and his mouth opened wide enough to fit an egg. The sea is really big. Huayan stood in the clouds and looked at the sea. With his eyesight, he couldn't see the coast on the other side. Su Qingni yawned behind Huayan, looking lazy. A young man in tight clothes walked to her side and asked kindly, "Little guy, where are your parents? Why are you not with them? Did you get separated from your parents? Brother will help you find your parents." Su Qingni turned her head, looked around the man, and smiled. "Brother, is your surname Cao or Su?" The man narrowed his eyes in surprise and looked at Su Qingni and Huayan carefully. He was sure that he had never seen these two children, so how did he know his origins? Su Qingni chuckled and said, "We are friends with Cao Xianhuang." The man suddenly realized, "So you are Huayan and Beiwu." Cao Xianhuang often wrote letters to his family. The Su family and the Cao family were as close as one family. The Su family also knew what Cao Xianhuang wrote in the letter. In the letter, Cao Xianhuang wrote about his acquaintance with Huayan and Su Qingni, and also about learning magic from them. With the consent of Huayan and Su Qingni, Cao Xianhuang wrote down the methods and tricks of practicing magic in his heart and sent it back to his family. Su Chang'ai followed his family and began to practice magic according to the contents of the letter, officially embarking on the path of cultivating immortals. Thank you for your guidance to the Cao and Su families. Su Chang'ai solemnly bowed deeply to Su Qingni and Huayan, who turned around and looked at him curiously. No need to be so polite. Huayan hurried forward to help Su Chang'ai up. Sister Xianhuang is our good friend, and it is our duty to help her and her family. Brother, since you are Sister Xianhuang's good friend, you are also our friend. Su Chang'ai is a free and easy person who loves to make friends. After hearing this, he smiled and said, "Okay, I'm glad to be friends with you." Su Chang'ai's personality is very similar to Lu Xiaofeng. He is a prodigal who likes to make friends and freedom. However, he has a bottom line than Lu Xiaofeng and will not hook up with beautiful girls everywhere. Su Chang'ai is the same as his father in terms of feelings. He just wants to have a confidant who is in tune with his heart and accompany him until old age. His personality is very popular with Huayan and Su Qingni. The three of them soon became good friends. Huayan was very happy. This was the third friend he knew who could confide in him. Because of this friend, Huayan and Su Qingni gave up the idea of going out to sea with Tengayan, and instead followed Su Chang'ai on a large ship ready to go to sea. This ship belongs to the Su family. The Su family took over the business of Mrs. Sham from Dongming and organized a fleet to trade between countries such as Korea and Japan. Su Chang'ai has been to Korea and Japan many times with his own fleet, and he is tired of playing. Now, he heard that there are many strange countries overseas, so Su Chang'ai was moved, so he transferred a large ship from his family's fleet, wanting to go overseas to see it, and by the way, see if there are fairy mountains overseas and immortals on the mountains. After Cao Xianhuang's letter confirmed, he knew that there really are immortals and Buddhas in the world. Su Chang'ai really wanted to know immortals and Buddhas and get in close contact with them. After knowing the purpose of Huayan and Su Qingni's voyage, Su Chang'ai patted his chest and promised that he would help them find an island with good scenery suitable for them to live in. Although the two children in front of him look small, they are actually immortals. Haha, I met two immortals before I went to sea. I am so lucky. It can be seen that this trip to the sea will be very smooth. The weather was fine that day, The sky was clear, and the big ship set sail and sailed away with the wind. Su Qingni and the other two stood on the deck, watching the coast getting smaller and smaller, and finally disappeared from their sight. Looking far away, all they could see was the seawater, endless. Su Qingni couldn't help but say, "So it is difficult for those who observe the sea to be water, and it is difficult for those who visit the door of the sage to be words." Huayan had studied with Direnji for several years, so he naturally knew where the sentence that Su Qingni recited came from, and excitedly continued, "There is a way to observe water, and you must observe its waves. The sun and the moon are bright, and their beauty must shine there. As for the flowing water, it will not flow without filing the channel. As for the ambition of a gentleman in the Tao, it will not be achieved without a chapter." Su Qingni gave Huayan an appreciative look, which made Huayan even happier, and he laughed triumphantly. Su Qingni turned her head and looked in another direction, ignoring Huayan. Huayan pouted, knowing that his brother was despising him, and he was not depressed, just chatting with Su Qingni. The days on the ship were more boring than on land. Except for the first few days when Huayan, who had never seen the sea, was extremely excited. Huayan got bored after a few days, so he found something to kill time. In addition to his own practice, he began to instruct Su Qingni in practice. Su Qingni only practiced according to the contents of the letter that Cao Xianwang wrote home. There were many things he didn't understand, so his realm was not high, and his strength was far worse than Cao Xianwang. Now that Huayan, who taught Cao Xianwang, taught Su Qingni personally, many of the things he didn't understand in the past were immediately solved, and Su Qingni's cultivation level soared. There was not much entertainment on the ship, so Su Qingni spent most of his time practicing, unlike before when he fished for 3 days and dried the net for 2 days, so his cultivation level increased faster. His aptitude is better than Cao Xianwang. I'm afraid it won't take him 50 years to transform the innate energy in his body into immortal energy, cultivate into an immortal body, and become a terrestrial immortal. Chapter 804 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself 16. The ship stopped at Niangniang Island for 2 days, replenished more water and food, and set sail again to the east. The ship sailed on the sea for a long time, and never encountered human habitation, nor did it encounter any islands, not even a very small island. The ship was surrounded by vast sea water. If it were not for the sea mom to guide the way, I am afraid they would be lost in the sea. Seeing that the clean water on the ship was getting less and less, there was no need to worry about food. The sea fish in the sea could fill people's stomachs. Everyone on the ship became anxious, and even Su Qingni began to worry. As a person who often goes to sea, he knows how miserable everyone will be when the clean water runs out, which may even cost lives. Huayan comforted Su Qingni, "Don't worry, when the clean water runs out, my brother and I will return to Dongying to get clean water. My brother Tengayan and I only need 1 hour to reach these distances of the ship." Su Qingni's eyes lit up. "Oh, right, how could he forget that there were 2 gods on the ship?" Exclamation mark. Su Qingni also spoke to comfort Su Qingni, "And we can fly ahead to explore the way for you and find an island to dock." Su Qingni's heart was settled, and he envied the 2 children. "When can I fly?" Huayan lifted his feet off the ground, floated up and climbed high with Su Qingni, stretched out his little hand and patted Su Qingni on the shoulder. "I will teach you the method of flying now, and you can fly." Su Qingni's eyes became brighter. "I can fly? Teach me quickly." Su Qingni discouraged Su Qingni, "You can fly, but you can't fly high or far. The innate energy in your body is not enough to support you to fly for too long, at most half a cup of tea." Su Qingni was not discouraged by Su Qingni's cold water, and was still very happy. It's good to be able to fly. Now the flying time is short, but when he is stronger, the flying time will increase accordingly. Under Huayan's guidance, Su Qingni flew into the sky not long after. Seeing this scene, the people on the boat cheered. They knew that Huayan and Su Qingni were not ordinary people, but immortals who could teach their master to fly. Wouldn't it be easy to get clean water? They could just cast a spell and turn seawater into clean water? Hearing the boatman's talk, Su Qingni finally understood what 3 cobblers are better than huge Liang meant. She and Huayan had never thought of such a simple way, and they were still thinking about flying to Japan to get water. Alice, she was like a child who is close to the ink and blackened the water. After staying with Huayan for a long time, she was also like a child who didn't think things through. It's very simple to turn seawater into clean water. Isn't it just using magic to separate water and sea salt? When Su Qingni was tired of flying and fell on the deck, Su Qingni asked him to ask the boatman to move 3 large water tanks and a wooden basin to the deck. Su Qingni blinked and immediately told his men to do it. When the water tanks and wooden basins were brought up and put away, Su Qingni began to cast a spell. Seawater suddenly flew up from the sea surface among the crowd, circling in the air for a few circles before splitting into 2 streams. One stream entered the water tank and quickly filled up 3 large water tanks, while the other stream fell into the wooden basin, filling up a basin of white powdery crystals. Okay. Su Qingni clapped her hands and said to everyone with a smile, "Don't worry about clean water, and don't worry about salt. The method of boiling seawater to get sea salt is known to everyone who lives by the sea." When everyone saw the white powder, they knew what it was, and also understood the intention of Su Qingni's doing so, and they were all overjoyed. However, they were worried that it would affect Su Qingni's spell, so they all kept their mouths shut. It was not until Su Qingni spoke that they cheered. The boatmen excitedly ran to the 3 large water tanks, buried their heads in the water tanks, and drank the clean water in big gulps. These days, because of the lack of clean water and the restriction of water use, the boatmen were very short of water and could only drink a few sips of water a day. Su Qingni joined the boatmen with a smile, drank a bellyful of water and returned to Su Qingni to thank her. "This spell is good. We don't have to worry about the problem of clean water in the future. This is a small spell. You can use it now." Su Qingni smiled. "Ah, then teach me quickly." Su Qingni shouted immediately. Su Qingni taught the spell to Su Qingni. This is a very simple spell, and Su Qingni learned it quickly. He saw that the boatman drank half of the water in one of the large water tanks, so he cast a spell to separate the clean water and fill the large water tank again. The boatmen were even happier to see that their master also knew this spell. They no longer had to worry about the lack of clean water. The gods will leave, but their masters will not leave them. Su Qingni would separate the clean water from the 3 large tanks every day, so that everyone no longer had to worry about the lack of water, and everyone's anxious mood calmed down a lot. The atmosphere on the boat also became peaceful. The ship sailed for another 3 days. On this day, Su Qingni, who was standing at the bow, suddenly felt that his body had passed through a thin barrier. Su Qingni was surprised, as there was nothing in front of him. Su Qingni asked the boatman beside him, and the boatman replied that he did not feel any barrier or anything. Su Qingni immediately went to find Huaiyan and Su Qingni. They should have the same feeling as him, right? Sure enough, Su Qingni heard the same feeling from Huaiyan. What is this barrier? Su Qingni looked at Su Qingni. He felt that Su Qingni must know. This child was not as heartless as his brother. This child knew a lot. Su Qingni did know. This is the barrier between Dongsheng Shenzhou and Nenshan Bazhou. Nenshan Bazhou? Dongsheng Shenzhou. Su Qingni was surprised. He had never heard of these 2 place names, and there was no record of them in the books. Su Qingni explained to Su Qingni, there are 4 continents in this world, namely Dongsheng Shenzhou, Nenshan Bazhou, Zhenyu Hezhou and Bijulazhou. Dongsheng Shenzhou in the east is composed of many overseas fairy mountains and islands, and is the sphere of influence of Taoism. Zhenyu Hezhou in the west is the sphere of influence of Buddhism, with a Lian temple on Lingjiu Mountain in Xianzhou as its center, and is home to thousands of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Arhats, Vajra, etc. Bijulazhou in the north is a wilderness frozen all year round, which is very dangerous, and there are many big monsters living there. Legend has it that except for the dragon and phoenix clans of the 4 seas dragon kings, all live in Bijulazhou. Nenshan Bazhou is where our Tang dynasty and the surrounding countries are located, and it is a place where mortals live. When Su Fu told the first emperor that he wanted to go to sea to search for fairy mountains, he actually wanted to go to Dongsheng Shenzhou. Unfortunately, Su Fu only got sporadic information about fairy mountains and islands from ancient books, and had no idea of the existence of Dongsheng Shenzhou. In the end, he only found Dongying Island, and thought he had found the fairy island. Chapter 805 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself 17. Toyota is just an ordinary island, there are no immortals. Su Fu and the first emperor were disappointed. There are barriers between the 4 continents, and it is difficult for ordinary people to pass through the barriers. Only those who have a predestined relationship with immortals can pass through. Su Qingni said. Su Qingni pointed his finger at his nose, and Su Qingni nodded. Su Qingni chuckled and said, let's not talk about the barriers. Just sailing on the sea for such a long time, without island supplies and clean water, ordinary people can't support it. Either they die in the sea, or they give up halfway. Su Qingni nodded again. Su Qingni was very excited and asked, now that we have entered Dongsheng Shen's how, can we often see gods and immortals? How can gods and immortals be so easy to see? Su Qingni said, there are also mortals living in Dongsheng Shen's how. What you see most are mortals with some strange abilities. As for the gods and immortals, most of them live in seclusion and will not easily show up to see a mortal like you. But there are more spiritual flowers and herbs here than in Nanzhanba's how. Many things recorded in the classic of mountains and seas can be seen in Dongsheng Shen's how. If you can find the legendaries Hiren and Zhima and eat them, you can immediately cultivate into terrestrial immortal. Su Qingni had heard of the legend of Hiren and Zhima, and said, they have already cultivated into human form and have spiritual intelligence. It would be too cruel to eat them. It's better to let them go. Who knows, one day they can also cultivate into immortals. It's good for me to cultivate on my own now. Did you say that I can become a terrestrial immortal as long as I cultivate for another 50 years? Su Qingni gave Su Qingni a thumbs up. You have a good attitude and made the right choice. Eating Zhiren's Hima can indeed make you become an immortal immediately, but Zhiren's Hima is a spiritual creature of heaven and earth, and is loved by heaven and earth. If you eat them but are rejected by heaven and earth, it will be very difficult to make further progress in the future. Moreover, when you cross the tribulation, the thunder tribulation will be more than twice as strong as others. Su Qingni groaned and said, fortunately, I stick to the bottom line and did not fall into temptation. Su Qingni patted his shoulder. You can pass through the barrier to Dongsheng Shen's how, which means that you have the chance to become an immortal, not with Zhiren's Hima, but with other things. Su Qingni thought of a question. Everyone who comes to Dongsheng Shen's how will have a chance to become an immortal, so what about these boatmen on the boat? Su Qingni, they came here because of you. They didn't have the chance originally, but now it depends on their own fate. Anyway, even if they have the chance, it's not better than you. It's impossible to become an immortal, but it's still possible to get some good things to prolong your life. That's not bad. Su Qingni said. While the two were talking, they heard the boatmen cheering on the deck. They looked in the direction of the boatman's sight, except for the cabin, and saw a small island. Finally, they could see the island. Regardless of whether there were people living on it, the boatmen who had been sailing in the sea for more than a month without docking were excited. The boatmen increased the speed of the boat, approached the island very quickly, and chose a place to dock. After docking, a few boatmen were left to guard the big boat, and the others ran ashore. Finally, they were on the ground again. Su Qingni sighed and jumped on the ground twice. Su Qingni had released her spiritual sense to patrol the island. This island is not big, only the size of Teohu Island. There are no people living on the island, and there are no large animals, but there are many interesting plants. Brother Su, there is no food on the boat, right? Su Qingni nodded. The food was almost gone, and there was only a little left for his master and his two friends. The rest of the boatmen had been eating fish caught in the sea these days. Su Qingni pointed in a certain direction on the island and said, there is food there. Brother Su, send people to pick it. Really? Su Qingni asked in surprise. Su Qingni nodded, see that forest? That's where the food grows. By the way, the boatmen can climb trees, right? Every one of them knows martial arts. Su Qingni replied, why do they have to climb trees to pick food? Such tall trees block the sunlight. How can the grains on the ground grow well? Su Qingni smiled, Brother Su, have you heard of Mu? Mu. Su Qingni was surprised, could those tall trees be the legendary Mu? Su Qingni nodded. Su Qingni was even more surprised and asked, doesn't Mu grow beside the black water? You know, there is a record in Volume 4 of the biography of Emperor Mu, there is wild weed and iris in the black water, which is what the Western membrane calls Mu. Su Qingni smiled and said, in the Han Dynasty, Zhang Heng recorded in Thinking of Zhuanfu that I dreamed of Mu in the past, and the high hills of Kunlun. It can be seen that Mu not only grows beside the Blackwater River, but also grows on Kunlun. It is normal to have Mu in the overseas fairy mountains. That's right. Su Qingni smiled, we are in the overseas fairy mountains now. Su Qingni was very interested in the legendary Mu, and took the lead to lead a group of boatmen to pick Mu. Huayan heard about Mu for the first time, and was very curious about it, so he followed. Su Qingni naturally followed the large group. Everyone went to the location of Mu with great interest. The boatmen didn't know the legend of Mu, but they knew that Mu could be eaten and tasted the same as rice. This made the boatmen, who had been eating sea fish for a long time, drool. When they walked to the edge of the woods, they saw trees that were 5 meters long and as thick as 5 people standing together. There were no branches on them, only countless rice whiskers, like ears of rice, one per ear, about 10 meters long. They pulled a rice grain from the ear and found that it was 3 inches wide and 5 inches long. If it was cooked, the rice grains would be 1 foot long, enough for a big man to eat. It was the harvest season for the Mu. Although there were not many Mu, each Mu tree still produced a lot of rice ears, and there were a lot of rice on each rice ear. All this rice added up was enough for the boatmen to eat for a while. The boatmen happily returned with a full load, and then went to other places on the island to see if there were other Mu. Su Qingni, Su Qingni and the other 2 chose a place to go to the inside of the island, but Su Qingni deliberately guided the other 2 to where she wanted them to go, so that Su Qingni and Huayan could find the good things she discovered with her spiritual sense. These good things were just ordinary to Huayan, just for the fresh taste, but to Su Qingni, they were rare good things that could improve his body and increase his cultivation. After walking for about half a quarter of an hour, the 3 found the first good thing. It was a big tree that looked like a jujube tree, with several red fruits on it. Is this a jujube tree? It looks like one but not like one. Su Qingni walked around the tree a few times, then he jumped to the top of the tree, picked a few fruits and gave one to Su Qingni and Huayan. Chapter 806 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself's VI. Su Qingni gave 1 fruit to Huayan and Su Qingni. Huayan picked up the fruit and stuffed it into his mouth. Su Qingni couldn't stop him in time, and said worriedly, "Why do you eat everything? What if the fruit is poisonous?" Huayan ate and said vaguely, "It can't poison me, I'm a god. This fruit is not bad, it's not poisonous." Su Qingni also took a bite of the fruit with her mouth and said after eating it with a smile, "The Niangniang records, the knife-flavored core grows in the southern wilderness. The tree is 50 feet high, and the fruit is like a date and 5 feet long. It is sweet when cut with a gold knife, sweet when cut with a bamboo knife, sour when cut with a wooden knife, and spicy when cut with a reed knife. The earth immortal who eats it is not afraid of water, fire, or white blades." After hearing this, Huayan quickly took the rest of the fruit out of his mouth. "No wonder I think this fruit has no taste." Su Qingni laughed and glanced at the long sword hanging on Su Qingni's waist. Su Qingni drew out his sword with shining eyes and handed it to Huayan. Huayan used the sword to split the remaining fruit and returned the sword to Su Qingni. Su Qingni immediately split the fruit in his hand and put half of it into his mouth. "Yeah, it's really sweet. Don't just eat it, feel what's going on inside your body." Su Qingni reminded Su Qingni. Su Qingni stuffed the remaining half of the fruit into his mouth and immediately looked inside his body. He saw a stream of pure energy rising from his stomach and flowing through his body. Su Qingni hurriedly sat down and guided the energy into his danshan. When he opened his eyes again, the sky was already full of stars. Su Qingni was surprised. "How long have I been practicing?" Su Qingni replied, 5 hours. So long. He felt that it was just the work of closing his eyes and opening them again, so it didn't take that long. Su Qingni said, "I have asked the boatmen to wait on the boat. They have a good harvest." They found a few more Mu trees on the island and harvested a lot of Mu rice. Su Qingni hummed and stood up. He felt relaxed and as if he was floating in the air. "Congratulations." Su Qingni and Huayan smiled and congratulated Su Qingni. After Su Qingni ate a knife-flavored core, his strength increased by more than 10 times, and he was already on the verge of becoming an immortal. In less than 50 years, at most 1 year, he would be able to cultivate into an immortal. "Is this the fate of an immortal?" Su Qingni exclaimed. "Eating a fruit can equal decades of cultivation." No wonder Su Fu went out to sea to search for immortal mountains and islands. Su Qingni thought that Su Fu was looking for the elixir of immortality for the first emperor as a byproduct, and he must be looking for his own fate of becoming an immortal. That's nothing. Dao is just the lowest grade among the immortal grasses and fruits. Huayan said proudly, "I tell you, my brother and I have eaten better immortal fruits and herbs, and those are all grown in the heavenly palace." Su Qingni quickly coughed twice to remind Huayan to shut up, They were stealing the things of the heavenly palace. In the following journey, the people on the boat were no longer as anxious as before, and everyone was very happy. Then they encountered several uninhabited islands and found some wood grass on them. The rice they picked was enough for them to eat for a long time. They also found Hui recorded in the classic of mountains and seas on a small island. This kind of grass will not make people feel hungry for a long time after eating. A boatman was very lucky and found 1,000-year-old ginseng on an island. This can be exchanged for a lot of silver when brought back to the Middle Earth, enough for the boatman's family to live a rich life for a lifetime. Su Qingni had the best luck. Half a month later, Su Qingni became an immortal. He encountered 1,000-year-old red fruit. After eating one, he immediately kicked open the barrier in front of him and advanced to the earth immortal. 1,000-year-old Zu fruit has 3 fruits. Su Qingni ate one and kept the remaining 2 using the method Su Qingni taught him. He took them home when he returned. Of the 2 Zu fruits, one was destined for Cao Xiangyang. The elders were worried about who to give the remaining one to. After becoming an immortal, Su Qingni was able to fly in the clouds for a long time. He often flew in front to explore the way, and the big ship followed behind. Su Qingni and Huayan chose the isolated island where the 1,000-year-old Zu fruit grew as their future residence. However, Su Qingni was their friend. He wanted to tour the entire Dongsheng Shenzhou. As friends, they naturally had to accompany him and serve as his bodyguards. Although Su Qingni was already an immortal, there were not too many scattered immortals in Dongsheng Shenzhou, and many of them could kill Su Qingni in seconds. After sailing on the sea for more than a month, they finally saw traces of human life and entered the country where humans lived. The mortals in Dongsheng Shenzhou look all kinds of things. They are generally the same as the people in Nanzhanbuzhou, but the details of the people in Nanzhanbuzhou are very different. They are more like transformed fairies. People in some countries have 3 eyes, people in some countries have legs that are 3 times longer than their bodies, people in some countries have colorful hair, people in some countries have 2 faces, and people in some countries have super big noses. The group felt that they had learned a lot. In the past, they would be surprised to see Kunlun slaves. Now that they are back in the Middle Earth, they will not feel strange even if they see monsters that have changed into strange shapes again. The group traveled in Dongsheng Shenzhou for 10 years before the big ship finally returned. The ship was full of specialties from Dongsheng Shenzhou, which could be sold at a sky-high price when brought back to the Middle Earth. By then, the boatmen on this ship will all become rich. One day in heaven is 1 year on earth. Su Qingni and Huayan have lived in the mortal world for more than 10 years, but only more than 10 days have passed in heaven. Second senior brother was appointed as the altar purifier in Lingshan Mountain. He had to deal with the immortals and Buddhas who came to congratulate him every day. By the time he had dealt with all of them, more than 10 days had passed. Second senior brother finally had some free time, so he had time to look for Taishang Laojin. "Why are you here?" Laojin thought highly of the 3rd-generation disciple of the human sect. When second senior brother came down to earth to join the team to obtain scriptures, he actually obeyed Laojin's order and wanted to get a share of the journey to the west. "Master." Second senior brother respectfully bowed to Laojin. "I have something important to report to Laojin." Laojin was puzzled. The journey to the west has ended, what else could happen? Second senior brother asked, "Master, have you ever heard of Patriarch Yangmani?" "No," Laojin said. "Who is this?" The second senior brother said, "I heard from people that Patriarch Yangmai was one of the 3,000 gods and demons who lived in the chaos before Pangu created the world. He escaped the calamity of Pangu's creation of the world and became a saint in the chaos, 3,000 years earlier than Patriarch Hongjin." "Where did you hear that?" Laojin frowned. "I have never heard of such a powerful person. Could it be that someone made it up to scare you?" The second senior brother said, "It shouldn't be. The person who told me was one of Kim Ulang's 2 sons. Chapter 807 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself. It was Kim Ulang's son, Bai Wu, who told me. Second senior brother said, "Did you personally throw Kim Ulang's son to death?" Taishang Laojin said, "I was sure that I had thrown him to death." Second senior brother said, "But who knew that I would see them again in the capital of the Tang dynasty? I couldn't see through Bai Wu at that time, but I'm afraid his strength was already higher than mine. It was he who told me that it was Yangmei Patriarch who saved people under my nose and taught him the way to practice. Even the ancestors couldn't teach 2 little monsters to be so powerful in such a short period of time. That's why I believed him." Laojin frowned. Second senior brother was right. Even if he was a saint, he couldn't make a person become a master comparable to Niangniang Pingxin in just a few years, except Sun Wukong. He could become Niangniang Pingxin so quickly, in addition to the fact that he secretly gave him a lot of elixirs to improve his strength, and when he was in the Nuwa Stone, he was swallowing the essence of the sun and the moon, and had a huge power in his body. But he couldn't use it because he didn't have the magic formula. In fact, after tens of millions of years of nurturing by the Nuwa Stone, Sun Wukong himself has the power of a golden immortal, which is hidden in his body. If what the second brother said is true, it is not good news for all the forces now. They are used to the saints not coming out, and each of them is the boss. No one will be happy when a big boss suddenly appears. It is not a good feeling to have someone on your head. The second brother understands Laojin's thoughts because he has the same idea. The second brother comforted Laojin, "Master, don't worry, that Yangmei patriarch is not a person who likes to meddle in other people's affairs. This time he just felt that he had a fate with Bai Wu Huayan and saved them. This ancestor only comes to visit occasionally, and then returns to the chaos, which will not affect us." Laojin thought about it and nodded. Yes, if that person wants to intervene. I don't know how many things he has intervened in tens of millions of years before. Because in the Tushita Palace, this is Laojin's territory, and the two people are not as cautious as in other places. They didn't think anyone dared to eavesdrop on the conversation between Laojin and the second brother in the Tushita Palace, but they forgot that in addition to them and the two boys, there was an outsider in the Tushita Palace, Kimu Lang, who was punished by the Jade Emperor to burn fire in the Tushita Palace. Laojin was shocked for a while because he suddenly heard that there was a master who was as good as Hongjin Patriarch above his body, so he didn't notice Kimu Lang approaching, so Kimu Lang listened to the conversation between him and the second brother. Kimu Lang has no feelings for Huayan and Bai Wu? Exclamation mark. How is that possible? After all, they are his own blood. It's just that Kimu Lang has always known that the two children can't be kept, and he dare not let go of his feelings for the two children. He was afraid that if he let go of his feelings, he would be very sad in the future. After returning to the heaven, although he looked normal on the surface, he had shed tears for the two children when no one was around. He wanted to know if the two children had been reincarnated, and he hoped that the two children could be born into a rich family and be happy in the next life. He actually wanted to go to the underworld to send the two children off in person. But he didn't dare, because he was afraid that he would bring greater danger to the two children and make them lose their souls. What did he hear now? The two children did not die. They met a powerful master who not only saved them but who also taught them powerful skills. Great. Now the heavenly court will not want to put them to death, right? Behind them is a being as powerful as Hongjin Laozu. Kimu Lang thought well, but he didn't know that the current Jade Emperor didn't know who Hongjin Laozu was, let alone the existence of Hongjin Laozu. The current Jade Emperor is not the previous Jade Emperor. The previous Jade Emperor and Queen Mother were boys around Hongjin Daozu. After the Western Zhou dynasty defeated King Zhou, they returned to the 33 heavens with Hongjin Laozu. The current Jade Emperor is a man named Zhang Baron who has experienced 99 lives of suffering. In the last life, he succeeded and ascended to become the Jade Emperor. When he ascended, he took his wife and 7 daughters with him. His wife became the current Queen Mother, and his daughters became the 7 princesses of heaven. It is said that the original Jade Emperor was not Zhang Baron's. After the Western Zhou dynasty conquered King Zhou, Zhang Ziya was conferring the title of God on the conferred God platform. Zhang Ziya originally planned to confer the title of Jade Emperor on himself. When he finished conferring the title of the second to last god, the gods curiously asked who the Jade Emperor would be given to. Zhang Ziya smiled and said, "Someone." Before he finished speaking, a man came out from under the table, said Yorn thanks the Prime Minister, and turned into a ray of white light and flew up to heaven to become the Jade Emperor. This man was Zhang Baron, whose name was Yorn. Zhang Ziya was so angry about this that he immediately ran to Kunlun to complain to his master. Yuan Shixianzhen had no choice because the conferred god list had already confirmed that Zhang Yorn was the Jade Emperor. However, Zhang Yorn had taken away his apprentice's identity, and Xianzhen was very unhappy. He could not drive Zhang Yorn off the throne, but he could punish Zhang Yorn in other ways. So, on the grounds that Zhang Yorn was weak and had low prestige, he was forced to reincarnate 99 times, and return to his position after success. The gods in the heavens were not convinced by the Jade Emperor, who was not very strong, and they all agreed with the decision of the Heavenly Lord. They all lined the streets to send Zhang Yuan off to the mortal world to experience the tribulations. When Sun Wukong was born, Zhang Yuan had just completed the tribulations for only 100 years. Although his strength had improved, he was still not comparable to other gods. That's why he got under the table when Monkey King made trouble in the heavenly palace, and shouted for Buddha to help him suppress Monkey King. It was really that he didn't have the ability to fight Monkey King, and the other gods? Haha, many of them were secretly watching the joke. How could they help Zhang Yuan? In this way, Zhang Yuan didn't know the existence of Hongjin Patriarch, let alone how powerful the saint was. After Queen Mulan came out of the Tushita Palace, he left the heavenly palace and wanted to see his two sons following the guidance of his blood. He was too excited and didn't realize that his enemies in the heavenly palace were secretly following him. Su Qingni and Huayan sent Su Chang'ai and his party to Japan, and then returned to Dongsheng Shenzhou, to the island they had chosen. Su Qingni and Huayan arranged the island, and with the support of magic, the two easily built two palaces that looked magnificent. They also planted many exotic flowers and plants next to the palaces, making this uninhabited island look like the fairy island imagined in the poems of the literate Ainan's Han Biziao. Suddenly I heard that there was a fairy mountain on the sea. The mountain was in the void. The pavilions were exquisite and the 5 clouds rose, and there were many fairies among them. Well, now there are only the 2 of them on the island, no fairies. Chapter 808 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself 20. When Kim Yilang came to the island along the bloodline, Su Qingni and Huayan were about to leave the island to find some little demons and elves to live on the island and be their younger brothers and maids. Let the mortals who came to the island by chance see the exquisite buildings and 5 clouds, among which there are many fairies. Suddenly, the 2 felt a throbbing at the same time. The traction of the bloodline made them discover the approach of a wolf in the distance. Its father. Huayan said in surprise, "Why did he come to the mortal world?" Su Qingni frowned. If your guess was right, Kim Yilang should have learned from the second senior brother that she and Huayan were still alive. I just don't know what Kim Yilang's intention was to come to the mortal world to find them this time. Knowing that they are not dead, he wants to kill them personally, or... Su Qingni grabbed Huayan's arm and looked at the sky in the distance with a solemn expression. Huayan has grown up a lot in these years. Well, although he has the blood of an immortal, he grows slower than ordinary mortals. More than 10 years have passed, and Huayan looks like a boy of 12 or 13 years old. At this time, he also had a stern face and was very serious. After a while, a black dot appeared in the sky. The black dot grew bigger and bigger, and soon came in front of the 2 people and fell in front of them. Kim Yilang didn't expect that the 2 children had already discovered his arrival, which showed that they had really become very powerful. For a moment, he couldn't help but feel a lot of emotions and his mood was extremely complicated. Huayan's mood was also very complicated. Looking at Kim Yilang, he didn't know how to treat him. The 2 looked at each other in silence. Su Qingni sighed and spoke first, "Greetings to the Star Lord." Huayan reacted and saluted with Su Qingni, "Greetings to the Star Lord." Kim Yilang choked up in his throat. Don't these 2 children regard him as their father? Huayan, Beiwu, don't you recognize me as your father? Kim Yilang said bitterly. Huayan remained silent. Su Qingni asked, "Is the Star Lord here to kill us?" No. Kim Yilang hastily denied it, and then said dejectedly, "I know that my previous actions hurt your hearts, and I was wrong. But I have my own reasons, and I can't protect you. I know that your only ending is death, so I dare not put too much emotion on you and let you grow up without parental love. I was wrong, I'm sorry for you." Kim Yilang kept saying that he was wrong and told about his difficulties, which softened Huayan a little. Su Qingni chuckled, "Since you knew that you would be killed if you gave birth to a child, why did you let Beoxiu give birth to the child? There are many ways to prevent a woman from getting pregnant. To put it bluntly, you did it for yourself. You had enough fun, and you irresponsibly let Beoxiu get pregnant. You didn't care about the child. Because the child was evidence of a crime, you let the child be killed. You are simply selfish, and you only care about yourself. You have never considered the child at all. If you really have a little father-son relationship with us, why didn't you send us away when you gave birth to us? With your ability, you can still send us away, right? The heavenly court will not monitor you all the time." Su Qingni's series of accusations made Kim Yilang look innocent and more ashamed. He didn't know how to refute Su Qingni, because Su Qingni was right. He felt that he was really a piece of shit and was not worthy of being someone's father. On the contrary, Huaiyin softened his heart when he saw Kim Yulang's ashamed look. Huaiyin was not like Su Qingni. He was Kim Yulang's son and still had expectations for his father. Huaiyin tugged at Su Qingni's sleeve and shook his head slightly at her. Su Qingni snorted coldly and stopped talking, leaving the matter to Huaiyin, Kim Yulang's biological son. It was up to Huaiyin to accept this father or choose not to forgive him. Huaiyin did not forgive Kim Yulang so easily, but he did not drive him away. Instead, he let Kim Yulang go to the island and enter his own palace like a guest. Kim Yulang could not help but smile. This was a good start. One day, his son would forgive him and accept him. The three people were in a complicated mood and did not notice that someone was following Kim Yulang. The person who was following caught Kim Yulang's handle, and excitedly returned to the heaven immediately to report to the Jade Emperor. What? Kim Yulang's son is not dead? He was even hidden by him. The Jade Emperor was furious when he heard this, and felt that His Imperial Majesty was offended by Kim Yulang. Kim Yulang actually dared to lie to him. This was not taking him, the Jade Emperor, seriously. Humph. He is not the Zhang Yuan who just took the throne. He has experienced 99 lives now, and his strength is no longer comparable to that when he first took the throne. He is now a golden immortal, and he has gathered a group of subordinates. It is not difficult for him to deal with Kim Yulang, who is also a golden immortal. Moreover, he is in the interests of justice and the rules of heaven. Who dares to oppose him? The Jade Emperor immediately ordered the people who followed him to select 10,000 heavenly soldiers and generals to go to the mortal world to capture Kim Yulang. Kim Yulang wanted to make amends and please his son. Huaiyin was looking forward to fatherly love in his heart. The relationship between the two became more and more harmonious. Just when Kim Yulang thought that his eldest son would be able to call him father again in the next second, his and Huaiyin's faces changed at the same time. The two quickly flew out of the palace and stood beside Su Qingni, who had come out a step earlier, and looked up at the sky with a serious look. They saw a dark cloud flying towards them. The dark cloud was getting bigger and bigger. In a blink of an eye, the yellow wind rolled and covered the sky, and the purple mist covered the ground. Kim Yulang's face changed drastically. It's the heavenly soldiers and generals who have set up a trap. The heavenly court has discovered you, and they are here to arrest us father and son. As soon as he finished speaking, a heavenly general in golden armor flew out and shouted at the three people, Kim Yulang, you actually deceived the Jade Emperor and secretly hid the two evil children. Now that the matter has been discovered, come with me to the heavenly court to confess your crime. Kim Yulang recognized that this person was Jiddu, the evil star among the 9 stars, who had a very bad relationship with him. This kid wanted to find something wrong with him, thinking that he had come to see his 2 sons secretly and was discovered by him, and reported him. Kim Yulang said angrily, Jiddu, you informed on me, right? Jiddu said complacently, so what if it's me? If you don't want others to know, then don't do it. Who told you to do the wrong thing first? Humph, you are a person who has made up for your crime, and now I have caught you in the wrong. Haha, you can't escape this time. Go to this Huxiante. Jiddu looked at Huaiyin and Su Qingni again. He didn't take them seriously and casually ordered his soldiers, kill the 2 little monsters. Who dares? Kim Yulang stood in front of Huaiyin and Su Qingni. He had let his sons down once, and he couldn't let them down again this time. This time, he must protect them. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 809 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself. Who dares? Kim Yulang stood in front of Huaiyin and Su Qingni. Jiddu sneered disdainfully, Kim Yulang, do you think you can protect these 2 little guys? Can you beat so many of our heavenly soldiers and generals? Do you think you are Sun Wukong? Kim Yulang also sneered. Although he was not Sun Wukong, he was a disciple of Jijiao. He had many fellow disciples in the heavenly palace. If they all pleaded for him, would the Jade Emperor really dare to send him to this Huxiante? Besides, his 2 sons now have a big backer. Kim Yulang didn't need to know that the current Jade Emperor knew too little about the secrets of this world. Ignorance means no fear. He didn't care how powerful the leader of Jijiao, Tongshan Saint, was. Anyway, the saint hadn't been born for a long time. He didn't care that Yangmi Patriarch and Hongjin Patriarch were of the same generation. He didn't even know who Hongjin Patriarch was. How could he be afraid of Huaiyan and Su Qingni's background? He now wanted to capture Qimulang and kill Huaiyan and Su Qingni, to show the others in the heavenly court how to kill the chicken and scare the monkey. Jiddu was surprised to see that Qimulang actually looked like he was resisting. Who gave him the courage in the heavenly court? Did he think that the other stars of the 28 mansions would help him? Don't be kidding. The 27 had long been confined by the Jade Emperor, and they couldn't even leave their own rooms. How could they come to save him? Jiddu raised his weapon and killed Qimulang. He and Qimulang were equally powerful, and the two fought together, and it was difficult to tell them apart for a while. The other heavenly soldiers and generals rushed towards Huaiyan and Su Qingni and killed them according to Jiddu's order. The heavenly soldiers and generals thought it would be very easy to kill the two little monsters, but they didn't know that they had kicked the iron plate. The two little monsters were more powerful than many generals in the heavenly court. Their fighting power was probably stronger than that of Nezha the third prince, right? I just don't know how they compare to Erlang Xiansheng's Henjin. Huaiyan and Su Qingni beat the heavenly soldiers and generals back. The two knew that the heavenly soldiers and generals had done nothing wrong. They were just following orders because they did not kill them, but only beat them up, making them look like the second brother. The heavenly soldiers and generals were not ungrateful. They were grateful to the two men, so they pretended to retreat. Jiddu and Qimulang also won and lost. Jiddu was slightly inferior to Qimulang and was beaten back by Qimulang. Jiddu was shocked to find that the heavenly soldiers and generals were no match for the two cubs. He wanted to retreat and fled with a group of heavenly soldiers and generals, and went back to the Jade Emperor for help. When the Jade Emperor heard that so many people could not catch Qimulang and his two cubs, he was furious and directly increased the military force tenfold, sending 100,000 heavenly soldiers and many heavenly generals to capture Qimulang and his son. These forces were enough to be comparable to the forces used to capture the Monkey King. Such a big commotion also alarmed everyone in the heavens. Needless to say, the people in the heavenly palace knew that the Jade Emperor was sending people to capture Qimulang and his son, but they didn't understand why the Jade Emperor would send so many people to capture them. Qimulang's strength was only average in the heavenly palace, so there was no need to mobilize so many troops, right? The gods and Buddhas in the great Liayan temple in the west also felt strange. The journey to the west was over, so why did the Jade Emperor make such a big fuss? The Buddha sent people to gather intelligence, and soon the people who gathered came back to report. The Jade Emperor sent troops to capture Qimulang and his two sons. The Buddha and the gods and Buddhas knew that Qimulang had a son. After all, Qimulang's story was one of the 81 difficulties on the journey to the west. But, didn't Qimulang's sons all fall to death by his second brother and Shamunk? These two people definitely don't have the ability to hide the truth and save the lives of the two children under the eyes of the gods and Buddhas. So who hid it from them and saved the two children? This person's strength is definitely very powerful. I'm afraid he is more powerful than the Buddha, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to hide it from the Buddha. Those two brats have a powerful backer, so it is better for them in the West not to provoke them. Then just watch the show from the side. Let the Jade Emperor be the first to provoke the two brats. What will happen? Will it lead to the master? By the way, Monk Sha is here. Where's the second brother? The Buddha glanced down and asked, Tang Sanzang, where's Zhu Beiji? Tang Sanzang didn't know, so he could only answer truthfully. The Buddha narrowed his eyes. He naturally knew Zhu Beiji's true origin. He thought he went to see his original teacher. Maybe Zhu Beiji knows something. When he comes back, he must ask him clearly. In the Tushita Palace, Laojin and the second brother knew about the Jade Emperor's actions, and they all watched the fun with teacups in their hands. They wanted to see how powerful Huaiyan and Su Qingni were. After all, they were disciples of the saint. This time, all parties finally saw the strength of Su Qingni and Huaiyan. The 100,000 heavenly soldiers and generals sent by the heavenly court were beaten back by the two. The strength of the two people is comparable to that of the Monkey King, who made a big fuss in the sky. Su Qingni's strength has surpassed that of the Monkey King in this world, but she has hidden her strength, and the strength she has shown is only equal to that of Huaiyan. No wonder they have the courage to challenge the heavenly court. But the little guy still doesn't know how high the sky is and how deep the earth is. The reason why the Monkey King was able to make a big fuss in the sky is that for the sake of the big drama of the journey to the west, those who know the inside story are acting and pretending to be defeated by the Monkey King. In fact, most of the gods in the heavenly court are Kigan practitioners in ancient times. Even if their souls are bound by the list of conferred gods and their strength is affected, they are not so bad that a group of people cannot beat a monkey. Any one of them can fight the Monkey King equally. Otherwise, how could the Monkey King often be defeated on the journey to the west and run to ask for help from time to time? That's because those monsters and monsters transformed by the gods did not give the monkey water like the gods in the heavenly court. The two little guys are only as strong as Sun Wukong, but they want to make trouble in the heavenly palace again. It's really a fantasy. The gods in the heavenly palace will not play tricks with them. If the gods such as the heavenly king of Toda, the four heavenly kings, and the third prince of Nezha come out, the two little guys will have no choice but to surrender. Although everyone is surprised that the two little guys have increased their strength in a short period of time, they are not optimistic about them going against the heavenly palace. Only the big guys such as Buddha and Laojin know that the two little guys dare to go against the heavenly palace because they have a backer. 100,000 heavenly soldiers and generals were beaten back by Su Qingni and Huayan. The Jade Emperor was furious and sent the heavenly king of Toda, the four heavenly kings and other masters of the heavenly palace to capture Su Qingni and Huayan. Huayan is indeed no match for these masters during the battle of the gods, especially the heavenly king of Toda and the four heavenly kings each have powerful magic weapons, and any one of them can make many opponents who are stronger than them helpless. Everyone saw the pagoda-bearing heavenly king throw out his exquisite pagoda. Chapter 810 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself. The full name of the Linglong Pagoda is the Seven Treasures Linglong Pagoda. It has the ability to capture demons and suppress ghosts. It has an unparalleled power. When necessary, immortals and gods can also be subdued. It was given to Li Jing by the Taoist master Randeng in Yuanzhou cave of Lingjiu mountain. The Taoist master Randeng was amazing. Later, he entered Buddhism and became the ancient Buddha Randeng, and his status in Buddhism was respected. And because of the Seven Treasures Linglong Pagoda, Li Jing made great contributions in the conferred god war. After being conferred a god, he became the tower-bearing Li Xian Wang. The power of this Linglong Pagoda is obvious. Everyone saw that the Linglong Pagoda became extremely huge in the air, emitting golden light and covering Huayan and Su Qingni. The huge suction force made Huayan and Su Qingni fly towards the pagoda involuntarily. Seeing that the two cubs were about to be sucked into the pagoda, Kim Yilang's eyes were bloodshot, and he wished he could replace his two sons and replace them, but he was entangled by Mo Liking, one of the four heavenly kings, and could not help his two sons at all. Everyone thought everything was over. At this moment, two magic weapons suddenly appeared above the heads of the two cubs. The older child had a black and yellow flag over his head that was more than 2 feet long. The flag released thousands of golden lotuses, protecting the gray cloud and allowing him to easily escape the section of the exquisite pagoda. The younger child had a huge ancient tripod above his head, emitting countless rays of light, which took the child out of the attack range of the exquisite pagoda. Wu Jizing Wang Flag. Jin Kunding. The Buddha of the Liayan Temple in the west and the Laojin of the Tushita Palace stood up in shock. Many senior gods also recognized what the two magic weapons were. More gods did not recognize Jin Kunding, but they all recognized Wu Jizing Wang Flag. You should know that Yuan Shixianzhen once lent the Wu Jizing Wang Flag to Zhang Ziyi to protect him in the conferred god battle. Many gods in the heavenly court have seen the Wu Jizing Wang Flag. What is the Wu Jizing Wang Flag? The Jade Emperor asked in confusion. When the Western Zhou dynasty attacked King Zhou, he did not go to the battlefield, so naturally he had never seen the Wu Jizing Wang Flag. Taibei Jinxing explained to the Jade Emperor, the Wu Jizing Wang Flag is the magic weapon of Yuan Shixianzhen, and it is the second magic weapon for defense after the magic weapon of the Saint Laozi, the Xiandi Zuan He on Linglong Tower. This kid actually has the magic weapon of the saint. The Jade Emperor pointed at the water mirror in front of him with trembling fingers, and couldn't believe it. How is it possible? Isn't the saint locked outside the 33 heavens and can't appear in front of people anymore? Taibei Jinxing couldn't figure this out either. Taibei Jinxing knew the Qiankanding, so he also told the origin of the Qiankanding. Nuwa. The Jade Emperor covered his chest, a little breathless. He just wanted to teach his disobedient subordinates a lesson. How did he involve two saints by using two little monsters to kill chickens and scare monkeys? Yes, only if the saints took action, the two doomed children would be able to hide the truth and survive. So did the saint have a way to get out of the 33 heavens? The Jade Emperor looked very unhappy. If the saint could come out, wouldn't there be a few more mountains on his head? Damn it. It's too damned. The Jade Emperor was so angry that he almost burned everything around him, but he had to bite his teeth and endure it. He sent the heavenly soldiers to call back the tower-bearing Heavenly King and others. There was no way. The two cubs were not easy to mess with. Queen Mulan couldn't move either. Out of sight, out of mind. Let him continue to burn the fire in the Tushita Palace. The Jade Emperor was in low spirits. The ambition he had just returned from the calamity was shattered by the news that the saint was still there. The Buddha in the West Heaven was in the same mood as him, but the Buddha was much more endurable than the Jade Emperor, and he was open-minded and clear-sighted. Although the saint would interfere in the mortal world, there should be some restrictions and he would not interfere too much. Otherwise, after tens of millions of years, he would not have only interfered in the affairs of Queen Mulan's two sons. They should not be able to leave the 33 heavens casually, otherwise they would not care about the affairs of the West and the Heavenly Palace. It will be the same as before. In the Tushita Palace, Laojin smiled and asked the boy to bring Kim Wulang in, and his attitude towards him was much better. Kim Wulang was still dizzy. His two little cubs turned out to be so powerful that even the Jade Emperor had to give them face. As a father, should he be proud? Or should he be ashamed that he was not as good as his son? Kim Wulang was dizzy and burning fire in the Tushita Palace. After work every day, he went down to visit his son. His son could only see him once a year in the mortal world. Kim Wulang found that his popularity in the heavenly court had improved. Everyone greeted him happily when they saw him. He knew why. Kim Wulang had a complicated mood, but he was secretly happy. Is this what mortals call enjoying the blessing of sons? He forgot that his two sons have not accepted him yet. Although the eldest son has softened, the youngest son treats him as a stranger and has no tendency to soften at all. Su Qingni and Huayan closed the formation on the island and hid the island. There is no way. During this period of time, there are too many people coming here to explore. Although they dared not to be blatant, they hid in the dark and watched them. How could they not find them? Su Qingni could not stand these harassments, so she decided to close the island, and Huayan agreed. The two only showed Kim Wulang the certificate that he could enter and leave the island freely, and then they stayed in the island to practice. Now that their identities have been made public, the gods and Buddhas in the East and the West know of their existence, and their lives are no longer in danger. It stands to reason that they don't need to practice so hard. But Huayan knew the importance of strength after the two sieges by the heavenly soldiers and generals, and practiced harder. The results of such hard practice are obvious. In just over 50 years, the two people have practiced to become Daluo Jingxin. And Daluo Jingxin is the highest strength in this world. As for the legendary saint, it is true that it no longer exists in this world. The two people unsealed the island and let the island reappear in front of people. Two Daluo Jingxin's deterrence was released, scaring all those who were paying attention to the island. So all the people who were inquiring outside the island left. Before, the two were just Tai Jingxin and they were so powerful. Now, they have gone to the next level and become Daluo Jingxin. Who in the world can be their opponent? Not long after the island was unsealed, guests came to the island. They were Cao Zhaoyang and Su Qingni. Both of them were immortals and could fly on clouds, so they did not take a boat, but flew directly. Old friends are naturally very happy to meet. Huayan and Su Qingni have also grown up in appearance. One is 17 or 18 years old, and the other is 15 or 16 years old. However, Cao Zhaoyang and Su Qingni's appearance has not changed. Now the four people look like the same age. Chapter 811 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself. The four people talked about the past and missed it very much. Huayan asked about Direnji. Cao Zhaoyang said with a sigh, Beiwu is right, this guy is a pillar of the country. Now he's the most trusted person of Emperor Wu, the prime minister who is second to none. Su Qingni calculated the time. Direnji will be 70 years old soon, and his life is coming to an end. Why not send him off by yourself, so that he can take office immediately after he arrives in the underworld? Poor Lord Di, he worked hard for the Tang dynasty all his life, thinking that he could rest after death, but he didn't know that he would be even busier after death. Huayan was deeply impressed by the prosperity of the Central Plains. After listening to Su Qingni's proposal, he immediately agreed with both hands. Cao Zhaoyang and Su Qingni have been wandering in Dongsheng Shenzhou for many years, and they haven't returned to the Central Plains for more than 10 years. Su Qingni's words evoked their homesickness, and they urged Su Qingni to leave more anxiously than Huayan. Su Qingni instructed the little demons and elves on the island to do some things, and then covered the island with a formation, and left with the other 3. Flying in the air, Su Qingni found that Cao Xiaoyang and Su Changyu's strength had improved a lot, and they were now immortals. Have you encountered any immortal fate again? Su Qingni asked. Without immortal fate, the 2 people's cultivation would not have increased so quickly. Cao Xiaoyang answered Su Qingni with a smile. We went to a place called Huaguo Mountain. There are many monkeys there. We communicated with the monkeys and exchanged the fine wine from the Middle Earth for the monkeys, brewed monkey wine. After drinking the monkey wine, our skills increased a lot. Then you are really lucky. Do you know whose territory Huaguo Mountain is? Su Qingni understood. The 2 people were really lucky, and they actually found Monkey King's hometown. The fruit trees on Huaguo Mountain were all nourished by Monkey King's magic, and many of them grew after the peach pit sprouted. The monkeys used these fruits to make wine. Although the wine they made was not as good as the wine in heaven, it was almost the same. Wouldn't it improve your cultivation level if you drank this kind of wine? Isn't it from the monkeys? Cao Xiaoyang asked. Su Qingni grinned. Remember the master and apprentice we saw in Chang'an City? Cao Xiaoyang thought about it, nodded, and suddenly realized, Tang Sanzing's eldest apprentice is a monkey. Su Qingni said, he is the Monkey King who was canonized by the Heavenly Court. He once made a big fuss in the Heavenly Palace. He is not an ordinary monkey. So powerful. Cao Xiaoyang opened her mouth in surprise. Making a big fuss in the sky, just thinking about it makes her feel very excited. She decided that this Monkey King would be her idol in the future. Su Changyu also became interested in Monkey King and asked Su Qingni about Monkey King. Su Qingni told the story of journey to the west to the 2 people. The 2 were fascinated and full of admiration and respect for Monkey King. I really want to meet this Monkey King. Su Changyu said. There is a chance. After all, you are now immortals. Huayan said. Although he also admired Monkey King, given that he was once a little monster that Monkey King and second brother wanted to kill, Huayan did not like the 2 of them very much. Just want to stay away from them, don't want to have any intersection with them. The group flew back to Nanzhan Buzhao while listening to the story and set foot on the land of Datang again. Su Qingni and Huayan accompanied Cao Xiaoyang and Su Changyu home first. Because of the magic formula taught by Su Qingni and Huayan, the Cao family and the Su family became the home of cultivators with Chang Shengju as the basic practice, and everyone's lifespan has been improved. For example, Cao Xiaoyang and Su Changyu's parents are still alive and look as young as people in their 30s. There are also many children with good qualifications in the 2 families, and their cultivation is very fruitful. One of the best qualifications should have eaten the zoo fruit brought back by Su Changyu, and has cultivated into terrestrial immortal. The 2 families have become long-lived because of their cultivation, which is different from ordinary mortals. Living with mortals will have a bad influence, especially the longevity, which will attract many people's covetousness. Therefore, the 2 families bought a mountain 40 years ago, moved their home to the mountain, and became real recluse masters. The Cao family and the Di family have been in contact over the years. Su Qingni and the other 4 rested in the mountain for 2 days, and then received news from the Di family, Di Renji is dying. Su Qingni and the other 4 rushed to Chang'an and met Di Renji, who is already very old. Di Renji smiled when he saw the 4 young-looking people. You look like my grandsons. Cao Xiaoyang habitually quarreled with Di Renji, get out. We are your grandfathers. Di Renji laughed. Cao Xiaoyang, don't disbelieve it. I will make a mark on your soul in a while, and then I will find you after you are reincarnated. In this way, you are younger than us and can only be our junior. Haha, haha. Cao Xiaoyang was very excited when he thought of such a scene, and laughed up to the sky. Di Renji turned to Su Qingni, Bai Wu, you said that I can cultivate ghosts and immortals after I die. Su Qingni smiled like a little fox. Yes, with your merits, you can become a ghost god after entering the underworld, and become a civil servant of the underworld. Di Renji didn't know what a civil servant was, but he felt that Su Qingni had bad intentions. He didn't want to be a staff member of the underworld, nor did he want to be reincarnated and bullied by Cao Xiaoyang as a junior. What should he do? He didn't want to die, could he? However, the king of hell made people die at 3 o'clock in the morning, and would not keep them until 5 o'clock. Di Renji's death date had long been recorded in the Book of Life and Death. When the time came, someone from the underworld would come to pick him up. Su Qingni had buried the netherworld stone a long time ago. At this time, the underworld was no longer a projection, but the real underworld. The ox-headed and horse-faced demons who came to pick up Direnji's soul were acquaintances of Su Qingni. Su Qingni gave a few instructions to the bull-headed horse-faced demon. Upon hearing this, the bull-headed horse-faced demon smiled widely, and the four eyes of the demon-headed horse-faced demon sparkled as they looked at Direnji's soul. Oh, there is a new labor force in the underworld. Great, that's great. With new people, they will have more time to rest. Direnji's soul shuddered. He was already a ghost, could he catch a cold? Well, the bull-headed horse-faced demon's eyes were a little scary. Could he apply for 2 soul-collecting messengers to take him to the underworld? Although he was reluctant, Direnji's soul had to leave with a bull-headed horse-faced demon. Cao Xiaoyang and Su Qingni kept sending Direnji's soul to the underworld. After all, they were already gods and would not be eroded by the yin energy of the underworld. As soon as Direnji arrived in the underworld, he was sent to Empress Pingxin. Empress Pingxin was very satisfied with Direnji. He was a very good talent. She immediately gave Direnji an official position and asked him to take office immediately. Chapter 812 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself. Direnji had to start working before he knew anything about the underworld. Faced with the documents on the desk, Direnji wanted to cry but had no tears. If he had known earlier, he would have chosen to be reincarnated as Cao Xiaoyang's junior. He didn't expect that he had been busy all his life when he was alive, and he would still be busy working after his death. It was bitter. Direnji wanted to cry but had no tears. Now that he knew Su Qingni's true identity, he regretted meeting Su Qingni for the first time. However, these office equipment in the underworld are so convenient and interesting. Especially this thing called a computer, which not only makes it convenient to collect and organize information, but also increases his work efficiency by more than 10 times, but also allows people thousands of miles apart to chat, learn a lot of interesting knowledge from the internet, and watch so-called movies and TV. After finishing his work every day, Direnji became addicted to the internet and soon became a homebody. After seeing Direnji off, the 4 of them went to the small courtyard where Su Qingni and Huai and Cao Xiaoyang lived. Decades later, the small courtyard still exists, but it is very dilapidated and there are people living in it. It is a family surnamed He. The family consists of 3 people, an old couple and a beautiful girl. They make a living by raising and selling flowers, and their family life is barely manageable. However, the old couple is old and in poor health, and they don't think they will live long. The girl is called He, a hard-working and gentle girl. She works hard every day to take care of flowers, and uses all the money from selling flowers to buy medicine for her parents, taking care of her parents very carefully. He is a very famous filial daughter in this area, and many families with sons want her to be their daughter-in-law. However, Miss He has to take care of her parents and is unwilling to get married. Even if she gets married, she will find a husband to help her take care of her parents. Nowadays, men will be despised as sons-in-law. As soon as He said this, all those who were interested in her backed out. He didn't care about it at all. Deep in her heart, she really didn't want to get married. There was a voice in her heart that kept saying that she would have great luck in the future and asked her not to get married. He obeyed the voice in her heart and didn't want to get married. Taking a son-in-law is just an excuse for her to deal with other people. Cao Xiaoyang and the other 3 watched He work hard to take care of her parents in secret. Except for Su Qingni, the other 3 people had a good impression of such a girl. Cao Xiaoyang proposed to help He. I have some spiritual herbs collected in Dongsheng Shenzhou, which can make people strong and healthy and prolong their life. Why not give them to He's parents to eat and make them healthy? In this way, He doesn't have to work so hard and can get married with peace of mind. Su Qingni and Huayan both agreed with her idea. Su Qingni stopped Cao Xiaoyang. Don't do unnecessary things. He's parents and she have fixed destinies. Don't disrupt their destinies. Su Qingni said, otherwise, it's not helping them, but harming them. How is it possible? Cao Xiaoyang asked doubtfully. It's not that they haven't used spiritual herbs to save people before, and Su Qingni didn't say that it would destroy the destinies of those people. Why did she say so this time? Su Qingni pointed at the slender figure who was digging the soil and planting seedlings and said, this girl is not an ordinary person, but a destined immortal. Destined immortal. Cao Xiaoyang, Su Qingni and Huan were all surprised. Su Qingni nodded. She recognized who this girl was the first time she saw the lotus. One of the 8 immortals of Shangdong Cave. Su Qingni said. 8 immortals of Shangdong Cave. The other 3 expressed surprise in unison. What is it? The immortal Donghu from the heaven has been reincarnated and will become one of the 8 immortals. These 8 immortals enlightened each other to become immortals, and they have a very good relationship. They get together to drink, chat, practice and act together. Therefore, no matter in heaven or on earth, they all think of them as one. This world is very interesting, as if it is a world composed of mythological stories she has heard of before. Look, less than 100 years have passed since the story of Journey to the West, and the story of the 8 immortals crossing the sea will begin again. I wonder if there will be other mythological stories? For example, the cowherd and the weaver girl, the 7 fairies and Dongyuan, the legend of the white snake, the precious lotus lantern, etc. Then this Yahua. Su Qingni, she is one of the 8 immortals, destined to become an immortal. And her parents are destined to die early. Seeing a trace of pity on the faces of the other 3, Su Qingni said, although the He family's parents died early in this life because of the fairy daughter, they also received blessings because of this fairy daughter. In the next life, both of them will be able to be reborn into a good family, continue their relationship as husband and wife, and live a long life with wealth and prosperity, and have many children and grandchildren. If you help them at this time, although it will increase their lifespan in this life, it will reduce their good fortune in the next life. Hearing this, Cao Xianwang put the spiritual herbs back into his space bag. The space bag was made by Su Qingni. There are many good things in this world, and the materials for making space bags can be found. There is no such thing as a space bag in this world. The powerful people practice magic with the world in their sleeves, and they don't need space bags. Other immortals and monks can only learn from mortals to use packages to pack things. The appearance of space bags is a good thing for the immortals and monks in this world to make them convenient. Unfortunately, Su Qingni only made a few and gave one to Huayan, Cao Xianwang and Su Changyu. Oh, Huayan coaxed Su Qingni to take another one and gave it to Kim Yilang. Kim Yilang showed off in the heaven with this space bag. This is the filial piety of his son. As a result, the gods knew the existence of the space bag. Several gods who had a good relationship with Kim Yilang prepared generous gifts through Kim Yilang, hoping to exchange for a space bag. Although Su Qingni didn't like Kim Yilang, how could she push away the good things that were delivered to her door? Anyway, it doesn't take much time to make a space bag, and the materials don't need to be precious. Compared with the generous gifts, she made a lot of money. So Su Qingni happily accepted these business deals, made space bags and asked Huayan to give them to Kim Yilang, and then gave them to the gods through Kim Yilang. Now the gods in the heaven all came to Kim Yilang, and also wanted to get the space bag through him. But this time Su Qingni didn't give Kim Yilang face. Damn, making a few space bags is not a waste of her time, but making dozens, hundreds, or even more in the future will take more time. She is not a merchant who specializes in selling space bags. So, Su Qingni refused mercilessly. This led to the increasing value of the space bags she made. Many people wanted to buy the space bags at a high price and exchange them with those who had space bags. Unfortunately, those who had space bags kept their space bags tightly. Such a convenient bag, I won't exchange it with others. Chapter 813 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself. Cao Xianwang, Huayan and the other 2 were very interested in the so-called 8 immortals, so they hid beside Yahua. They wanted to see how Yahua became an immortal from an ordinary mortal woman, and they wanted to see what the other 7 immortals were like. The 4 bought a yard near where Yahua lived and temporarily settled down in Chang'an City. Today, Chang'an has become more prosperous after the governance of several generations of emperors in the Tang dynasty. There are more shops and more people, many of whom are from other countries. Some have high noses and deep eyes, some have different colored hair and eyes, some have skin like snow, and some have skin like carbon. All kinds of people make Chang'an like a small United Nations. Chang'an has become more lively in recent months. This is the imperial examination, and candidates from all over the country have come to Chang'an, which has brought more people to Chang'an. Hua's business has improved a lot. Many flowers with festive meanings are scrambled for, so Hua can go home an hour earlier every day and earn more money than before. After buying medicine for her parents, there was still a lot of money left, so Hua could buy some good food to nourish her parents. However, even so, her parents' health was getting worse and worse. Half a month later, his parents left this world in their sleep on the same night. Hua had expected it in her heart. Although she was sad, She did not show it too much, but arranged the funeral affairs of the two in an orderly manner. Because of the medical expenses of her parents in recent years, the family did not have extra money to buy coffins for the two elderly people to handle their funeral affairs. He who could only take out the 2 pots of peonies she had carefully raised to exchange for money. Thanks to the event that Wu Zixin demoted peonies to Luoyang, the reputation of peonies spread all over the world, and nobles, literati and even ordinary people began to pursue peonies. The peonies of flowers can be sold at sky-high prices. Although the 2 pots of peonies planted by Hihua are not the best flowers like Yaowang and Weizi, they are also treasures among peonies. One of them is Mokui and the other is Fotao Qing, with jade beads smiling, magnificent and very attractive. Hihua brought 2 pots of peonies to the market and attracted many people's attention. Most of these people were ordinary people. They knew they couldn't afford the 2 pots of peonies, so they just admired them from a distance and didn't ask the price. Later, wealthy families heard the news and sent servants to ask the price. Hihua compared the prices given by these people, selected a family, and decided to trade with them. At this time, a group of people came over and pushed away the servants of the wealthy families. A dandy man with a wretched expression walked up to Hihua and said, "You are a good-looking girl. I want you. Come on, give her some silver and take her back to the mansion for the young master." The lackeys of the dandy man heard the words and went to grab Hihua. Hihua struggled and said, "I sell flowers, not myself." The dandy man laughed and said, "The young master wants to buy you, you have to sell yourself. Do you still have the law?" Hihua said angrily. "Master, I am the law. Do you know who you are?" The dandy man raised his nose to the sky. "Master's surname is Wei." Hearing this surname, the onlookers couldn't help but take a step back. What does the surname Wei represent? It represents the Empress Wei, who is the most favored by Emperor Zhongzong. If you offend the Li family, who have the same surname as the emperor, you will still have a way out, but if you offend the Wei family, you will have no way out at all. Although they sympathized with the little girl selling flowers, everyone cherished their lives more and dared not offend the dandy man. Hihua was desperate and helpless, and was about to be intervened by the dandy man. When Cao Xiaoyan couldn't help but secretly help him, the savior arrived. "Stop. In broad daylight, you actually kidnapped a decent girl on the street." With a voice, a young man dressed as a scholar walked over through the crowd. The man had handsome features. Although he was dressed as a scholar and his temperament was very elegant, he was not lacking in heroism. In addition to a book box on his back, he also carried a long sword. It seems that this is a man who is both civil and military. "Who do you think you are? How dare you intervene in my affairs? Come on, break this guy's hand for me." The dandy man looked at the scholar with malice. At this time, all the scholars who came to the capital were here to participate in the imperial examination. I asked my men to break this man's hand, and see how he can still write? How can he still participate in the imperial examination? Humph. This country bumpkin who has no sense of propriety came to the capital without asking about my background, and actually offended me. I must teach him a lesson that he will never forget. The dandy man thought well, but he didn't know that his lackeys were no match for the scholar. The scholar kicked the lackeys away with 1 foot each. The dandy man realized that the scholar was a tough guy, and he didn't dare to stay any longer. He left a harsh word and slipped away with his lackeys. Humph, he can't beat the scholar, but he can deal with the scholar in other ways. Aren't you going to participate in the imperial examination? I will start with the imperial examination and make him fail. When Hihua saw the dandy man running away, she was extremely grateful to the scholar who helped her. Her eyes moved, revealing the girl's admiration for her lifesaver. "Sir, thank you for helping me." Hihua stepped forward and saluted. "You're welcome. It's our duty to help when we see injustice." The scholar waved his hand and smiled. When he saw Hihua's appearance, his eyes showed a hint of appreciation. The two of them stood together, a handsome man and a beautiful woman, and everyone who saw them secretly praised them for being a perfect match. Cao Xiaoyang pointed at the handsome men and beautiful women below and asked Su Qingni, "Isn't Hihua going to become an immortal? How can she become an immortal when she already has a man she likes?" Su Qingni chuckled and said, "That man is not an ordinary person. He is the reincarnation of Donghu Shangxin. He is the reincarnation of Donghu Shangxin." Cao Xiaoyang was surprised. Can these two people still talk about love after becoming immortals? Of course not. Immortals cannot talk about love. Before they become immortals, they must abandon the love between men and women. and Dong Ho Shanksin has a love tribulation, but it is not he who will be punished. Then who will be punished? Cao Xiaoyang's face was full of gossip. Su Qingni stared at Cao Xiaoyang's face. She found that when Cao Xiaoyang asked this question, a touch of pink appeared in the corners of her eyes. Is this peach blossom luck? Exclamation mark. Su Qingni suddenly looked in the direction of the scholar and found that a red line extended from the scholar's body, involving Cao Xiaoyang. You. What? Cao Xiaoyang asked. Nothing. Su Qingni swallowed her discovery. She knew Cao Xiaoyang's character well. If she told him about her discovery, he might do something counterproductive, which would make her even more trapped in this love affair. It would be better to let Cao Xiaoyang know nothing and watch from the sidelines to prevent her from getting hurt. Chapter 814 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself. Below, he who had already asked the scholar's name, Lu Yan, courtesy named Dongbin, was from Hezhong Prefecture, Pazhao, Hedan, and came to Chang'an to participate in the imperial examination. Because of the disturbance by the playboy, other families gave up buying Hihua's peonies because they did not dare to offend the playboy. Hihua frowned because she did not get any money and could not buy a coffin for her parents. Lu Yan saw Hihua's frown and asked, Miss, are you worried that the playboy will cause trouble to you again? Hihua shook her head. The capital is so big, that person may not find me. I am just worried that I can't sell these 2 pots of flowers. Lu Yan liked the 2 pots of peonies very much, and said, Miss, can you sell these 2 pots of flowers to me? Hihua hurriedly said, if you like them, I will give them to you. Lu Yan would not take Hihua's flowers for nothing. He could see that the girl was short of money and was selling flowers to make money. I took someone else's flowers for nothing, how can they live without money? Lu Yan estimated the price of the 2 pots of flowers. As a young man from a noble family, planting flowers is one of his pastimes. He probably knows the price of peonies. Lu Yan took out 3 ingots of gold from his arms and put them in Hihua's hands, then left with the 2 pots of flowers. Hihua was stunned for a moment holding the gold, and then she ran after Lu Yan after she realized it. But as a woman, her legs were not as strong as Lu Yan who practiced martial arts, and she lost track of Lu Yan in a short while. Hihua felt disappointed and went home with the 3 ingots of gold. With the money, Hihua bought the best coffin for her parents and gave them a grand funeral. This funeral only cost half an ingot of gold. 2.5 ingots were enough for Hihua to use for a long time. Worried about meeting a playboy on the street again, Hihua no longer went out to sell flowers on the street, but stayed at home to grow flowers. Some daily necessities were purchased by her neighbor Miss Cow. Miss Cow is a warm-hearted girl. Hihua is very happy to know Miss Cow and become friends with her. Hihua often thinks of Mr. Lu who helped her. But the girl's admiration has faded. She is a very rational girl. She knows that her status is too different from Mr. Lu, and it is impossible for her to be with Mr. Lu. Moreover, after not seeing Mr. Lu for a long time, the voice in her heart that made her become an immortal came out again, making Hihua firm in her thoughts. She wants to cultivate immortality. Immortals cannot be involved in love. She wants to forget Mr. Lu. Good-hearted Miss Cow delivered the brown sugar and salt that Hihua entrusted her to buy to Hihua's home. Seeing Hihua's expression, she blinked. This girl is worthy of being a destined immortal. She has passed the love test so quickly. Miss Cow, thank you for your trouble. Hihua took the brown sugar and salt and thanked Cao Xiaoyang. It's not a trouble, but it's just a matter of convenience. Cao Xiaoyang said with a smile. Hihua said a little embarrassedly, there's something I would like to ask Miss Cow for help. Just tell me what it is, I will definitely help. Cao Xiaoyang patted his chest and said. Hihua took Cao Xiaoyang to her flower garden, pointed to a pot of flowers that was about to bloom and said, I want to sell this pot of flowers for money, please help me, Miss Cow. Seeing the beautiful flowers, Cao Xiaoyang couldn't help but admire, what a top-quality white peony. This is the best of the best, and you are willing to sell it. Hihua smiled and said, precisely because it is a top-quality product, it is not something I can own. It is better to sell it for money so that it can find someone who truly appreciates it. Cao Xiaoyang, don't you regret it? Hihua, I like to grow flowers, but I don't want to own every good flower. I hope that the flowers I grow can be liked by more people. Cao Xiaoyang, okay, then I'll take this flower away. Thank you, Miss Cow. You're welcome. But where did you find such a good white peony? It's my luck. Hihua said, I picked up this white peony when I was 8 years old. After more than 10 years, it has never bloomed, and it is not as lively as other flowers. I thought it would not survive. I didn't expect it to survive for more than 10 years like this, and it bloomed this year. It can't be said to be a miracle. Oh, so this flower is really unusual. Cao Xianwang stretched out his fingers to touch the petals of the white peony, and was surprised to find that there was a very faint fairy air on the flower. Could it be that this white peony is a flower demon? No. If it is a flower demon, there should be demonic air on it, not fairy air. Could this be the true body of a flower fairy? That flower fairy was in trouble, and his true body was stranded in the mortal world and was picked up by Hihua. Cao Xianwang released his own soul to explore the interior of the white peony, but did not find the soul of the flower fairy inside, nor did he find any residual soul. Could it be that she guessed wrong? This white peony was just accidentally touched by fairy air. Cao Xianwang held the white peony in his arms and returned to the courtyard where the four of them lived. He found Su Qingni and asked a well-informed Su Qingni to see what was going on with the white peony. When Su Qingni saw the white peony, she understood how Cao Xianwang was related to Lu Yan's love tribulation. This white peony was the link. You're right. This white peony is the true body of a flower fairy, but now this flower fairy has entered reincarnation and become immortal because of punishment. Su Qingni said. Is that so? Cao Xianwang felt a little sorry. It is not easy for flowers and plants to cultivate into immortals, but because of punishment, they fell into the mortal world again. Would this white peony be useless? When the fairy spirit above dissipates, it will become the most ordinary flower in the mortal world. There is no chance to breed spiritual wisdom again, and cultivate into a demon or an immortal again. Cao Xianwang sighed, but she didn't think of keeping the white peony for herself. She is not as careful as Yehua. In addition to cultivation, she has no patience to grow flowers. Not to mention flowers, she was too lazy to even raise living things. The next day, Cao Xianwang went out with a white peony in his arms. Cao Xianwang found a shop that specialized in selling high-end flowers and plants, and wanted to sell the flowers directly to the shop. When he walked into the shop, there were already customers looking at the flowers. She was a very beautiful woman. Her appearance alone ranked among the top 3 women Cao Xianwang had seen in decades, but she had a worldly temperament, which lowered her style a lot. The woman looked at all the flowers in the shop, but did not find any that satisfied her, and her expression was not very good. Suddenly, the woman's eyes lit up, and her sight fell directly on the white peony that Cao Xianwang was holding. The woman quickly stepped forward, walked to Cao Xianwang, and asked, "Is this pot of white peony for sale?" Cao Xianwang nodded, "Of course it's for sale." The woman was very happy to hear this, and said, "I'll buy it." "How much is it?" "You name a price." Chapter 815 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself. This pot of flowers has the same name as Miss Bai, so it is destined to be with Miss Bai. The waiter of the shop said on the side, not unhappy that Cao Xianwang had taken away their business. God knows how picky and difficult Miss Bai is to serve. He doesn't want to waste time with this girl anymore, just hope that she will leave quickly. Cao Xianwang looked at the woman. The woman smiled at Cao Xianwang, "My name is Bai Mudan." "Then it's really destined." Cao Xianwang smiled, "I'll sell this pot of flowers to you." Cao Xianwang quoted a price, which was the price given by Hihua, which was much cheaper than the price Bai Mudan thought. Bai Mudan happily took out the money and gave it to Cao Xianwang, and then happily hugged Bai Mudan and left. Cao Xianwang walked around the shop and found that although the plants inside were not as good as those in Hihua's yard, they were also very good, and there were many fine products here that Hihua's yard didn't have. Cao Xianwang chose a flower seedling to buy and decided to take it back as a gift for Hihua. Just after paying, a young scholar walked into the shop. Cao Xianwang took a look. "Oh, isn't this the scholar who helped Hihua?" Bai Wuke said that this person is the reincarnation of Donghu Shangxin, the great god in the sky. Cao Xianwang couldn't help but take a few more glances. Lu Yan noticed Cao Xianwang's gaze, turned his head in confusion, and looked at Cao Xianwang. After seeing Cao Xianwang clearly, Lu Yan couldn't help but praise in his heart. The girl in front of him is not only good-looking, but also has a good temperament, which is very different. The girl who he met before was also very good, but her temperament was slightly inferior to the girl in front of him. Both the girl Hihua and the girl in front of him have a kind of fairy spirit that is out of the world, but Hihua is less heroic than the girl in front of him. Seeing that Lu Yan noticed his gaze, Cao Xianwang smiled at him generously. Hello. Hello. Lu Yan responded, I am Lu Yan. I wonder if I have the honor to meet you. My name is Cao Xianwang. I am very happy to meet you. Cao Xianwang smiled and nodded at Lu Yan. The two got to know each other. Cao Xianwang learned from Lv Yan that he had developed a great interest in flower cultivation because of the 2 pots of peonies given by He Hua. He would take care of the 2 pots of flowers every day when he was tired of reading. Today, he came to the store to see if there were any flowers that caught his eye and buy one to take back. Lv Yan walked around the store and didn't see anything that caught his eye, so he decided to leave. He and Cao Xianwang didn't know that because of Cao Xianwang's intervention, a pot of white peony that was originally destined to be with Lv Yan was bought, which led to the lack of the legend of Lv Dongbin playing with white peony 3 times after Lv Yan became an immortal. Lv Yan was both civil and military, and read a lot of books, while Cao Xianwang had decades of experience and knowledge. The two chatted happily and soon became friends. The two chatted in the tea house for a whole morning, but Lv Yan suddenly remembered that he had not written a policy paper today, so he said goodbye to Cao Xianwang and left in a hurry. Cao Xianwang walked out of the tea house and walked slowly. After turning a corner, Cao Xianwang entered a dead end. Several men appeared at the entrance of the alley with a grin and walked towards Cao Xianwang. What a stupid woman, she actually walked into a dead end by herself, making it easier for us brothers to catch her. This girl is pretty, not much worse than that He Hua. Let's catch her and present her to the young master, and the young master will definitely reward us. Hearing their words, Cao Xianwang laughed terribly. You are stupid. How can I beat you if I don't walk into a dead end? It's very troublesome to beat people on the street. This woman is not afraid of us. Is she like that scholar, who looks weak but is actually very powerful? Very likely. There are female heroes in the world. The legendary Sihan Jingzhe and Yinghui sect are all women. Then haven't we hide a wall? The men looked at each other, then shouted run together, turned around and rushed out of the dead end. The smile on Cao Xianwang's face froze. He thought he could beat these men up for fun. Unexpectedly, these men are so tactful. Tisk. Forget it, if I can't beat them, I can't beat them. They are just a group of mortals. Cao Xianwang walked out of the dead end slowly. The identities of these people can be heard from their conversation. They are the subordinates of the playboy. It seems that the playboy has always wanted to take revenge on Lu Yan, and he will not let go of anyone who has a little relationship with Lu Yan. I just don't know how Lu Yan will deal with this playboy. He is a member of the Wei family. Cao Xianwang went to He Hua's house first, gave the money from selling flowers to He Hua, and also gave her the flower seedlings, and received He Hua's sincere thanks. Returning to the courtyard where the 4 people rented, Cao Xianwang told the other 3 about how he met Lu Yan. After listening, Su Qingni stared at Cao Xianwang's eyes and asked, what do you think of Lu Yan? Cao Xianwang didn't understand, and answered truthfully, not bad, very knowledgeable, good personality, unrestrained and uninhibited, very suitable to be a friend. Do you mean that Lu Yan is suitable to be a friend but not a lover? Su Qingni asked. Cao Xianwang nodded. Lv Yan is a very loyal person. It is happier to be his friend than his lover. Su Qingni was satisfied. Remember what you said, don't like Lv Yan in the future. Cao Xianwang reached out and touched Su Qingni's forehead. I'm not sick, why are you talking nonsense? I'm a fairy, how can I like men? I don't want to go through the love tribulation. Su Qingni slapped Cao Xianwang's hand away, laughing in her heart. You don't want to go through the love tribulation, but someone will. Who told you to be so curious and get involved with those people, and become Lv Yan's love tribulation instead of others? Su Qingni took out a magic weapon and handed it to Cao Xianwang. This is the 9 Heavens Yuan Yang ruler, a protective magic weapon that can not only protect the body, but also the soul. Take it and refine it quickly. Of course, this 9 Heavens Yuan Yang ruler is also a copycat. Cao Xianwang was very happy to get the magic weapon. Without thinking too much, he took the 9 Heavens Yuan Yang ruler and went back to his room to refine the magic weapon. Su Changyu felt something was wrong and asked Su Qingni, Bai Wu, has Xianwang been in any danger recently? It's not dangerous, she just became someone else's love target. Su Qingni said. Su Changyu widened his eyes, who would like this tomboy? Who is so blind? Su Qingni, you look down on your childhood sweetheart too much, don't you? By the way, was Cao Xiaoyang really the same as a boy when she was a child? Otherwise, why did she grow up to be a little beauty, but none of her childhood friends liked her? This is the case with Su Qingni, and it is also the case with Direnji. Well, the underworld sent a message saying that Direnji's work efficiency is very high, very good. Wait for her to go back and give Direnji a raise. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 816 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself. In the middle of the night, Chang'an City fell into darkness. All the places that operated at night were closed, and everyone fell asleep. Bai Mudan, as the courtesan of the largest brothel in Chang'an City, was different from ordinary prostitutes. She had the freedom to choose her guests, and she could also willfully refuse guests and rest whenever she wanted. Today, Bai Mudan wanted to rest. She did not receive any guests, so she went to bed early. The moonlight slanted down, shining into Bai Mudan's room through the window, shining on Bai Mudan's body, and also on the pot of white peony flowers placed at the head of her bed. Bai Mudan breathed steadily, and with every breath, it seemed that the moonlight was also absorbed into her body. The white peony flowers at the head of the bed seemed to be absorbing the moonlight. As if it had absorbed enough moonlight and had strength, the white peony flower spit out a ray of green light and entered Bai Mudan's body. Bai Mudan seemed to have changed a lot for a while, but it seemed not to have. If Cao Xiaoyang were here, he would be able to see that the white peony flower was spitting out the remaining immortal energy in its body. Now the immortal energy has entered the body of the white peony, transforming the white peony's body. The white peony, human, and the white peony flower are therefore connected. LV took part in the imperial examination, but in the examination room, someone framed LV for cheating, and he was disqualified from the examination and kicked out of the examination room. His fame was also taken away. This was a huge blow to LV. He was depressed and went to the restaurant to get drunk. Seeing LV like this, Cao Xiaoyang accompanied LV to drink. It must be that guy Wei Chen who did it. Cao Xiaoyang said, wait until night, I'll take you to put a sack on him. LV didn't answer. He was not in the mood to talk now. Cao Xiaoyang curled his lips and said nothing. He sat quietly aside and drank with LV. Anyway, she couldn't get drunk no matter how much she drank from the mortal wine. She was staying here to wait for Lu Yan to get drunk and then send him back to his place, so that he wouldn't be thrown out by the restaurant to sleep on the street. By the way, was Lu Yan disappointed with the mortal world because of this incident and became a monk and finally became an immortal? At this time, two people entered the restaurant and walked directly towards their table. Cao Xiaoyang squinted at the two people. One was lame on one leg and leaned on a cane, and the other was pot-bellied and held a palm leaf fan in his hand. Cao Xiaoyang didn't have the vision of Su Qingni, so he couldn't tell the origins of these two people, and didn't know whether they were human or immortal. When she walked in the world, she also restrained her immortal aura according to the method taught by Su Qingni, so that the two people couldn't tell that she was an immortal. The two newcomers just thought she was a confidant that Lu Yan met after coming to the capital. The two looked at each other and decided to ignore Cao Xiaoyang. But as a woman, when Lu Yan became an immortal, they would have no intersection with him. The two ignored Cao Xiaoyang and sat down opposite Lu Yan. The lame man, Tigui Li, said, Master Lu, we meet again. Lu Yan glanced at them indifferently. You again? I told you that I have no interest in becoming a monk, so don't come to me. Master Lu, we don't want you to become a monk, we want to help you become an immortal. Hans Hongli said. Lu Yan chuckled in response. He had studied Confucian knowledge since he was a child and kept a distance from immortals and gods. Becoming an immortal? Are you kidding? Is it so easy to be an immortal? And his life is very good now. Even though he was framed this time, he is still not disappointed with life. Why should he become a monk? This person equates becoming a monk with becoming an immortal. Seeing that Lu Yan was just as unreasonable as when they first met, Tigui Li took off the wine gourd hanging from his waist, shook it in front of Lu Yan, and asked, I have good wine, do you want to drink it? Drink. Lu Yan put the empty wine glass in front of Tigui Li. Why not drink good wine? Tigui Li's mouth curved up, he opened the stopper of the wine gourd, filled the cup with wine, and placed it in front of Lu Yan. Lu Yan drank the wine in the cup in one gulp, and praised loudly, "Good wine." After that, he fell on the table and fell asleep. "It is indeed a good wine," Cao Xianwang said. "How can the immortal wine of Cheng Meng's life not be a good wine?" Ti Guili and Han Hongli were shocked and looked at Cao Xianwang together. Cao Xianwang smiled at the two and performed a Taoist etiquette. "Excuse me, two Taoist friends." She thought she knew their identities. They should be two of the 8 immortals of the cave, who came to enlighten Lu Yan. "Excuse me, Taoist friend." Ti Guili and Han Hongli hurriedly returned the greeting. They were really short-sighted, and they didn't even realize that this woman was also a cultivator. "I wonder who the lady is?" Ti Guili asked. "My name is Cao Xianwang, and I am a casual cultivator," Cao Xianwang said. Ti Guili and Han Hongli also reported their names and origins. The three chatted for a few words, but since they were all strangers, there was nothing much to talk about. Cao Xianwang said, "I am sitting here thinking about sending Lu Yan back to his residence after he gets drunk, and fulfilling my duty as a friend. Now there are 2 fellow Taoists looking after him, so there is no need for me to stay. Goodbye." After saying that, he stood up and left. Ti Guili looked at Cao Xianwang's departing back and asked Hans Hongli, "What do you think of this man?" Hans Hongli said, "He has a righteous aura, is not from an evil sect, and has no ill will towards us." Ti Guili nodded, "It's better to have one more friend than one more enemy. We, the 8 immortals of Shangdong, have gathered together in response to the will of heaven. We will encounter many disasters and enemies along the way. It would be best to have one more friend and one less enemy." The two retracted their gazes and looked at Lu Yan, who was sleeping on the table, with their eyes full of expectation. "I hope that after this dream, LVN can wake up and step into the path of immortality." LVN was drinking in a restaurant when he suddenly heard a voice of congratulations from downstairs. "Congratulations to LVN, Master LV, for becoming the top scholar in the golden examination." LVN stood up happily and walked down the restaurant. In the Golden Palace, the emperor liked LVN, the top scholar, very much and even wanted to marry his daughter to him. LVN refused. He didn't want to marry a princess he had never met. He only married women he liked. The emperor was not angry because of LVN's refusal. Instead, he appreciated LVN even more and used him. LVN obtained an important official position as soon as he entered the officialdom. After that, he was promoted all the way from a scholar in the Hanlin Academy to Jingzhaoyin, and was sent out as a governor of a state. After accumulating enough experience, he returned to the capital and became the minister of the Ministry of Revenue, and the minister of the Central Secretariat, and the minister of the Guangli Temple. He was also named the Duke of the state. He was successful in the officialdom, and his marriage and family were equally happy. LVN married Cao Xianwang as his wife and Yihua as his second wife. His wives and concubines were in harmony and had deep affection for him. They gave birth to 3 sons and 2 daughters for him. The children were all very successful. Both sons passed the imperial examinations and became the top scorers like him. They later became higher-ranking officials with generous salaries, and his daughters also married into wealthy families. Chapter 817 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself. LVN had many children and grandchildren, and he enjoyed wealth and glory throughout his life. He also lived a long life, dying at the age of 100 without any illness. When he died, 6 generations of his family lived together, and his sons and grandchildren all knelt in front of his bed to see him off. LVN smiled and closed his eyes. He didn't expect that he would have a chance to open his eyes again. Seeing Ti Guili and Han Hongli sitting next to him, LVN was startled. Then he realized that his happy life was just a dream. "Are you satisfied with a life of wealth, a beautiful wife and concubines, and many children and grandchildren?" Ti Guili asked. LVN was silent. He recalled his experience in the dream, and the expression on his face changed as the scenes played in his mind. In the end, LVN's smile froze, but his eyes were relieved and let go. "Congratulations, Taoist friend." Ti Guili and Han Hongli were overjoyed when they saw LVN's eyes. LVN smiled at the two of them. "Thank you, fellow Taoists. From now on, there will be no more LVN, only LV Dongbin." Ti Guili and Han Hongli laughed. "Okay, for fellow Taoist LV Dongbin, we should make it clear." Ti Guili took out his wine gourd and shared his good wine with Han Hongli and LVN.
His wine gourd is a magic weapon, which can hold many different kinds of fine wine. What he poured out at this time is naturally no longer the immortal wine of Changmeng Yishan. Ti Guili asked LV Dongbin about Cao Xiaoyang. LV Dongbin blinked his eyes, blinked away the original love between men and women in his heart, and said with a smile, "She is a friend I met when I came to the capital. I didn't expect that she is a fellow Taoist." Ti Guili did not see anything unusual in LV Dongbin's expression, and he relaxed in his heart and smiled. Friends are good. It's easier to get things done with more friends. LV Dongbin nodded and thought of Hihua. He felt that Hihua was extraordinary before, and she should have something to do with him. Now that the altar is clear, he knows that Hihua will be one of their companions, so he smiled at the two of them. "I know a friend. I think you two will be happy to see her." Ti Guili and Han Hongli were puzzled. "Who is it?" "Lu Dongbin. That person is called Hihua, and she should be one of our 8 immortals." Ti Guili and Han Hongli were very surprised to hear this, and asked Lu Dongbin to take them to see Hihua. Lu Dongbin was a little embarrassed. He had only met Hihua once, and he didn't know where Hihua lived. In the end, Hans Hongli calculated and knew Hihua's address. However, the 3 did not go to find Hihua immediately, but first took Lu Dongbin to the cave where the 2 lived temporarily, and taught Lu Dongbin to start practicing. Lu Dongbin was originally the reincarnation of a great power in heaven, and the effect of this practice was amazing, 10 times faster than the practice speed of casual practitioners like Cao Xiaoyang who had no background. In addition, Ti Guili and Hans Hongli had already prepared elixirs and fruits for Lu Dongbin, as well as some arrangements made by Donghu Shangxin when he came down to the world. Lu Dongbin's cultivation increased rapidly, and he became an immortal in a very short time. However, after becoming an earthly immortal, the speed of improving cultivation slowed down, but of course it was still faster than other people. It took Lu Dongbin only half a year to cultivate into an immortal body. If you want to cultivate from an earthly immortal to a heavenly immortal, it will take at least 5 or 6 years. Think about the immortals Cao Xiaoyang and Su Qingni who have cultivated into immortal bodies. This is the case when they have Su Qingni's help and have met immortals several times. For other ordinary cultivators, they can only practice honestly, otherwise they may not be able to cultivate into an immortal body in their lifetime. This is the difference between having a backstage and not having a backstage. After Lu Dongbin cultivated into an immortal body, he left the cave opened up by Ti Guili. He had not reported to his parents before he came out to cultivate immortality. This time he went down the mountain and naturally went to visit his parents first to settle the cause and effect with his parents in this life. Secondly, there was revenge. Wei Chen framed him, how could he not retaliate? And Hihua. Ti Guili and Hans Hongli gave him the task of enlightening Hihua to become an immortal. He must go to the capital. I just don't know if Cao Xiaoyang is still in the capital, and whether he can see her again. Lu Dongbin went back to the Lu family first. Lu's parents were very happy to see him back. You know, he hadn't been home for a year, and his parents were worried. Especially after hearing the news that he was kicked out of the examination room and his name was cancelled for cheating in the imperial examination, the two became even more worried. They knew their son, and their son would definitely not cheat. You know, their son's talent is very high, how could he cheat? They were worried that someone would frame their son, and they were even more worried that their son would be sad and angry and do stupid things. The son hadn't come back for more than half a year, which made them think that their son really did something stupid. They were worried, but in just half a year, the two people often couldn't sleep at night because of fear and became much older and their health was much worse. Lu Dongbin blamed himself very much, and quickly knelt down to apologize to his parents and told them about his experience in the past 6 months. After knowing that their son was cultivating immortals, Lu's parents did not blame their son. Anyway, the Lu family had Lu Dongbin's elder brother and younger brother to inherit, and the incense of the Lu family would not be cut off, so Lu Dongbin could do whatever he wanted. And Lu Dongbin became an immortal in such a promising way. You know, one person's enlightenment brings prosperity to all his family members. Their son became a god, and they are the family of the gods. There must be many benefits, right? Apart from anything else, as long as they are known as the family of the gods, who would dare to provoke the Lu family? Aren't they afraid that the gods will destroy those people? What's more, they really got the benefits from the son of the gods. Lu Dongbin gave his parents, brothers, nephews and nieces elixirs to maintain their bodies and increase their lifespans. After taking the elixir, The Lu family's parents suddenly looked 20 years younger, and they would have no problem living for another few decades. Lu Dongbin used these elixirs to repay the Lu family for part of their upbringing, and left after living at home for a few days. He promised the Lu family that he would visit his parents and relatives every once in a while. Lu Dongbin flew on his sword and arrived outside the capital in less than half an hour. Lu Dongbin landed on the ground in an empty place. As a result, a figure appeared in front of him as soon as he landed. Lu Dongbin was stunned and looked over. Oh, it turned out to be an acquaintance. This is fate. He met Cao Xiaoyang as soon as he came to the capital. Miss Cao. Cao Xiaoyang heard the familiar voice, looked up and smiled. Mr. Lu. Oh, I should call you fellow Taoist Lu now, right? Long time no see. Lu Dongbin knew that Cao Xiaoyang was a cultivator, so he changed his address. Fellow Taoist Cao, long time no see. Do you want to go to the restaurant for a drink and reminisce about the past? Next time. Cao Xiaoyang refused. I will go to you for a drink after I get rid of that annoying guy. After saying that, without waiting for Lu Dongbin's reaction, she rushed into the sky and flew away in a hurry. Lu Dongbin, is there a ghost chasing her? There is no ghost. There is a man. A man appeared in front of Lu Dongbin and questioned Lu Dongbin with a bad look. Who are you? What is your relationship with Cao Xiaoyang? Chapter 818 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself 30. Lu Dongbin fought with the man in a daze. Lu Dongbin's cultivation was one level lower than the man's, but the sword in his hand was of the best quality, which increased his lethality. After the fight, both of them were seriously injured. Wait, I won't let you go. The man ran away after saying a word. Lu Dongbin was very confused. What was going on? To find out the whole story, he had to go to Cao Xiaoyang to ask. Fortunately, Lu Dongbin knew where the yard where Cao Xiaoyang lived was, and fortunately, after so long, Cao Xiaoyang and her companions did not move away. Lu Dongbin came to the yard and was warmly received by the other three. Among them, Su Qingni and Huan looked at Lu Dongbin with eyes that made Lu Dongbin feel a little hairy. What kind of eyes is this? Why is it so strange? Since Cao Daoyao is not here, I will come to see her next time. Lu Dongbin wanted to leave. As a result, as soon as he stood up, Cao Xiaoyang came back. Cao Xiaoyang tried to keep Lu Dongbin, but her eyes were as strange as Su Qingni and Huan's. Lu Dongbin couldn't help but ask, why do you look at me like this, Cao Xiaoyang? Cao Xiaoyang sighed and said with a little jealousy, because of curiosity and jealousy. Lu Dongbin. Cao Xiaoyang, it took Qingni and I several decades to cultivate intra-immortals, and that was because we had a strange encounter. But you, Daoyao, were just an ordinary person half a year ago, but now you are already an immortal. This speed of becoming an immortal makes us sigh, surprised and jealous. So that's it. Lu Dongbin suddenly realized. But he was a great immortal in his previous life, and he was destined to be one of the 8 immortals in the upper cave in this life, so it was necessary to cultivate quickly. The 8 immortals were incomparable to ordinary cultivators. Lu Dongbin smiled and said, it's mainly because I have been practicing in my previous life, and my fate as an immortal is already determined, so I can cultivate so fast in this life, all because of the blessing of my previous life. Cao Xiaoyang nodded. She had seen this kind of thing where the previous life benefits the next life some time ago. Speaking of which, it has something to do with her. The person who was blessed in the previous life was the courtesan Bimuden in the brothel. Originally, Bimuden was a female fairy in the sky. Because she yearned for the love between men and women, she was demoted to the human world. She had to be a female branch girl for 3 lives. And her original body was also left in the mortal world, picked up by Hua, and carefully raised. Originally, Hua would not sell Bimuden, but kept her in her own yard. Bimuden and her original body were far apart, and the connection between the original body and Bimuden was completely cut off. The fairy spirit contained in the original body eventually dissipated, and the original body turned back into an ordinary flower and tree. It was not until Hua became a fairy that Lu Dongbin discovered that this white peony was unusual. Out of pity for Bimuden, Lu Dongbin went to the brothel to enlighten Bimuden, but he provoked a love disaster and left a legend of Lu Dongbin playing Bimuden 3 times. But because Cao Xiaoyang knew Hua and often ran errands for her, Hua entrusted Cao Xiaoyang to sell Bimuden's original body. And Cao Xiaoyang happened to meet Bimuden herself. Bimuden had a feeling about her original body, So she immediately spent a lot of money to buy it and put it on her bedside every day. So her connection with the original body not only did not break, but deepened. The immortal energy contained in the original body was transmitted to Bai Mutan's body, transforming her body, and the original body took Bai Mutan to absorb the moonlight every night, and took Bai Mutan to practice passively. But it didn't last long. After Bai Mutan had cultivated, her memory of the previous life was revived, and she knew her own origins. After this trip to the mortal world and so many years in the brothel, Bai Mutan had seen more, and no longer had expectations for the love between men and women. She successfully broke through the emotional barrier, which improved her realm. Bai Mutan merged the original body with herself, digested the immortal energy in her body, and cultivated into an immortal body. Bai Mutan understood that her opportunity came from Cao Xianyang. If she hadn't sent her original body to her, she would never have become an immortal again in this life. So she came to thank Cao Xianyang specially, and then left Chang'an City, and didn't know where she went. As for the man who had been chasing Cao Xianyang and had a fight with Lu Dongbin, he was attracted by Bai Mutan. The man was Ao Kong, the youngest son of the Wishu Dragon King. Ao Kong looked like a handsome man, but he was actually a lustful man with a wrong mind. This man came to the human world to pick up beautiful women every once in a while. He always pretended to be affectionate and let the girls take the initiative to devote themselves without regrets. This time Ao Kong came to the human world and saw Bai Mutan. In addition to Bai Mutan's appearance attracting him, Ao Kong saw the fairy spirit in Bai Mutan. So Ao Kong approached Bai Mutan, pretending to fall in love with Bai Mutan at first sight, and wanted to hook up with Bai Mutan, and then continue the actions between men and women, using the principle of taking yin to replenish yang, absorbing the fairy spirit in Bai Mutan and increasing his own cultivation. In this way, he absorbed the cultivation of many female demons and low-level female fairies. Bai Mutan is not just a female demon or fairy. She has been hanging around in brothels for so many years and has seen through the nature of men. She would never believe in Ao Kong's so-called true feelings. After becoming a fairy, Bai Mutan escaped directly without leaving any information for Ao Kong. The prey ran away, and Ao Kong was so angry. After knowing that Bai Mutan had met Cao Xianyang before leaving, Ao Kong ran to find Cao Xianyang, and wanted to use Cao Xianyang as an outlet. As a result, he was pleasantly surprised to find that Cao Xianyang was also an immortal with lower cultivation than himself, and a casual cultivator with no background. Being a casual cultivator is good. If I took her cultivation, no one would stand up for her. Oh, there are still some, that is, her 3 friends. But he is also a casual cultivator. What can you do to him? He is the son of the Wishu Dragon King, his family is powerful, and the 4 Seas Dragon Kings are all his relatives. He can kill 3 casual cultivators with just a finger. It's not like he hasn't tried to collect essence from such female immortals. After knowing his identity, those female immortals just swallowed their anger and didn't dare to do anything to him. Humph, since Bai Mutan is gone, let's use this female immortal instead. So, Ao Kong began to pester Cao Xianyang. Ao Kong acted like he fell in love with Cao Xianyang at first sight and really deceived Cao Xianyang, Su Qingni and Huan. Su Qingni also lamented that there were really blind men who actually fell in love with Cao Xianyang. Su Qingni saw that Ao Kong's feelings were fake, but she didn't know Ao Kong's dirty thoughts or his purpose, so she didn't slap Ao Kong away directly. Moreover, Cao Xianyang didn't like Ao Kong and only regarded Ao Kong as a trouble. She didn't have to worry about Cao Xianyang being deceived by Ao Kong. Lu Dongbin learned about Ao Kong from Cao Xianyang and was speechless. Ao Kong regarded himself as a love rival. Chapter 819 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself. Ao Kong thinks of himself as a love rival. Lu Dongbin couldn't help shaking his head. He did have some unusual thoughts about Cao Xianyang before, but now that they have become immortals, there is no longer any love between men and women. He is not a dragon, so he can get married. He is a god in heaven, and there are restrictions on the rules of heaven. He cannot have feelings beyond men and women with other female immortals. Otherwise, it will hurt others and himself. Cao Xianyang knew what happened after he left, and hurriedly apologized to Lu Dongbin. Lu Dongbin waved his hand indifferently. It was not Cao Xianyang's fault, but Ao Kong's self-righteous misunderstanding. Fellow Taoist Cao, the rules of heaven stipulate that immortals cannot have mortal desires or marry. Lu Dongbin reminded Cao Xianyang, and casually made things difficult for Ao Kong. I understand. Cao Xiaoyang said, don't worry, fellow Taoist, I won't violate the rules of heaven. Lu Dongbin was satisfied, reminisced with Cao Xiaoyang, and left. Su Qingni and the other two sat in front of Cao Xiaoyang. Su Changaiyu flicked his right hand on the stone table, and a set of tea sets appeared on the table. Su Changaiyu lit up the small red clay stove and started to boil water to make tea. The other three were waiting for his tea. Among the four people, Su Changaiyu's tea-making skills were the best, and the tea he made was sweet and mellow, and the best to drink. Su Changaiyu made the tea smoothly, poured a cup for each person, and placed it in front of the three people. Su Qingni and the other two took a sip from the cup. It's really good and delicious. Su Changaiyu put down the cup and said, is Lu Dongbin coming back for Hihua this time? Su Qingni nodded. Hihua and Lu Dongbin have a master-disciple relationship. I really envy these destined immortals. Cao Xiaoyang sighed. They can become immortals without having to find immortal fate themselves, and they don't have to work hard for dozens or hundreds of years like us. As long as they are enlightened, they can become immortals. It's so easy that makes me jealous. Don't be jealous. Su Qingni said, you see that they can become immortals so easily. In fact, they have accumulated for several lifetimes. Lu Dongbin is needless to say. In his previous life, he was the Donghua immortal. He was reincarnated as immortal after experiencing tribulations, and becoming an immortal is inevitable. Take Yehua for example. She was a cultivator in her previous 8 lives, and in each life she was only one step away from becoming an immortal. Now is the 9th life, which should be perfect. We can't just look at her ease in this life, but ignore her efforts in the previous 8 lives. The other 6 of the 8 immortals of the upper cave are either reincarnated immortals like Lu Dongbin, or they are in the same situation as Yehua. So that's how it is. Cao Xiaoyang and Su Chang'an heard this, and their jealousy and discomfort disappeared. Heaven is fair. The courtyard where the 4 people lived was not far from Yehua's home, so they didn't need to release their spiritual consciousness. They could hear LV Dongbin going to find Yehua just by their hearing. Yehua was very happy to see LV Dongbin. After all, this was the man who moved her. However, LV Dongbin's words dispelled her admiration for him again. Compared with becoming an immortal, the love between men and women is really nothing. Yehua very straightforwardly worshipped LV Dongbin as her teacher, and LV Dongbin began to teach Yehua to practice. Yehua was destined to become one of the 8 immortals. She had a deep affinity with immortals. In the courtyard where she planted flowers, there was actually a ginseng with fruits that had grown for thousands of years. After LV Dongbin found out, he picked the fruit and let Yehua eat it. Yehua immediately cultivated into an immortal body with the energy of the ginseng fruit, which was easier than LV Dongbin's immortality. The 4 people watching in the dark were envious. Unfortunately, the 10,000-year-old ginseng had developed intelligence, and disappeared after the fruit was picked. Otherwise, it would be great if they could use the 10,000-year-old ginseng to make soup. Lu Dongbin stayed at Yehua's house to guide her in her cultivation, and went out one day. After that, the news spread in the capital that Wei Chen, the dandy, was punished by the gods. 2 months later, Ti Guili and Han Hongli came to Yehua's house with an old man riding a donkey upside down and a young man who liked to play clappers. You can't call her Yehua now. She is already a fairy, and should be called Xiangu. 5 of the 8 immortals have become immortals, and they have visited the courtyard where the 4 of them lived. They have either reincarnated and lost most of their memories of their previous lives, or they have been living in the mortal world, and have never heard of Huayan and Su Qingni. They didn't know that there were 2 extremely powerful beings living in the courtyard. Ti Guili and his group treated Huayan and Su Qingni as casual cultivators like Su Changaiyu and Cao Xiaoyang, and did not pay much attention to them. Therefore, when they encountered difficulties, they never thought of asking these 4 casual immortals for help. Su Changaiyu and his group originally intended to help them, but they did not mention it, and Su Changaiyu could not take the initiative to ask for help. Anyway, the 8 immortals are the sons of luck during this period of time, and they can turn danger into safety even if there is danger. They just watch the show from the side. However, because Cao Xiaoyang and LV Dongbin had a relationship because of the so-called love calamity, they also became a small part of the 8 immortals' ordeal. The so-called love calamity came from Ao Kong. When Ao Kong came to Cao Xiaoyang again, the 5th of the 8 immortals happened to be a guest in the courtyard of the 4 people. Ao Kong really regarded LV Dongbin as a love rival, and when he saw LV Dongbin, he fought with him again. LV Dongbin practiced very quickly, and after a period of time, his strength improved a lot, and he had the upper hand when fighting with Ao Kong again. This time, both of them were injured, but Lu Dongbin's injury was lighter, while Ao Kong's injury was more serious. Ao Kong had never suffered such a big loss before, and he immediately hated Lu Dongbin, and regarded Lu Dongbin as his biggest enemy, and opposed Lu Dongbin everywhere. Then Lu Dongbin extended it to Tigueli and others, and regarded Tigueli and others as enemies. Except He Xianggu. How could a pervert like Ao Kong let go of such a beautiful fairy like He Xianggu? While he was entangled with Cao Xiaoyang, he also used his black hand to try to snatch He Xianggu away. He was discovered by Lu Dongbin, who taught Ao Kong a lesson again. This time, Lu Dongbin was very aggressive, and Ao Kong was injured in the foundation. When he ran away, he met the relatives of the female demon who had been harmed by him. Ao Kong was too injured to fight with the relatives of the female demon, and was killed by the relatives of the female demon. He dug Ao Kong's Dragon Ball and fled to Bijilazhao, the base camp of the demon clan. The dragon clan was furious, but the northern continent was too big, and the female demon relative was very good at hiding. The dragon clan could not find the culprit for a while, so they put their resentment on Lu Dongbin. Especially the second prince of the East China Sea Dragon clan, he ran to the human world to make trouble for Lu Dongbin and the 8 immortals. This second prince is the same person as Ao Kong, and the so-called birds of a feather refer to them. When the second prince saw He Xianggu, he went up to tease her, clamoring that as long as He Xianggu became his 8th concubine, he would let Lu Dongbin and his party go and no longer cause trouble for them. How could the 8 immortals agree? Not to mention that He Xianggu is their companion. Even if she is not their companion, they will not sacrifice innocent girls. Chapter 820 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself. The 8 immortals rejected the second prince very firmly. Humph, they are the destined 8 immortals of the upper cave, noble immortals, not ordinary scattered immortals. How could they be concubines of the second prince? Is he worthy? The conflict between the second prince and the 8 immortals became more intense. Su Qingni and the other 4 were cracking melon seeds and watching the fun. The second prince didn't take them seriously at all. Su Qingni found that the connection between Cao Xiaoyang and LV Dongbin was broken after Ao Kong's death, and she couldn't help being speechless. She thought that the love tribulation was that LV Dongbin and Cao Xiaoyang had to have an emotional entanglement of you love me and I don't love you, and she kept telling Cao Xiaoyang not to be tempted and not to look for a man, but she didn't expect the so-called love tribulation to be like this. Cao Xiaoyang was just the fuse that caused the conflict between the 8 immortals and the dragon clan. Too watery, right? But it's better this way. After this love tribulation, Cao Xiaoyang will no longer be implicated by the 8 immortals and will be safe in the future. This scene has been watched for hundreds of years, from the Tang dynasty to the Song dynasty, and the last immortal among the 8 immortals returned to his position. The 8 immortals crossing the sea began to play. The 8 immortals crossed the sea, each showing their magical powers. I have to say that this scene was simply wonderful. The result was that the East China Sea Dragon clan and the 8 immortals fought on the sea. The second prince took the lead and faced Lu Dongbin, whom he hated the most. However, this time he was not as lucky as before. The second prince died under Lu Dongbin's sword this time. The 8 immortals won a great victory, and their reputation spread throughout the heavens and the world. There are legends of the 8 immortals crossing the sea everywhere in the world. However, this move completely angered the Dragon Clan. At this time, the story of the 8 immortals crossing the sea has ended. The 8 immortals are no longer the sons of destiny. Facing the revenge of the Dragon Clan, the 8 immortals are completely at a disadvantage, and they are about to die one by one. Laojian came forward and stopped the 4 Seas Dragon Kings. The 2 sides fought to the point of darkness and darkness, and they were evenly matched. The immortals and gods then realized that the 4 Seas Dragon Kings were not soft persimmons, and their strength was also very strong. Although they were not as good as Laojian individually, when added together, their strength could compete with Laojian and Buddha. As for their weak performance in the face of Monkey King and Nezha, it was just following the will of heaven. When the will of heaven is over, they will be able to get revenge. Nezha was forced to death by the 4 Seas Dragon King once, so they are even. After all, Ao Bing was also included in the conferred god list and was named Huage Star in the heavenly court, and he was not completely dead. The 4 Seas never bothered Nezha again. As for Monkey King took away only the golden hoop and a set of armor, which were just external things, and the dragon clan didn't care. You said the golden hoop is the Dinghe Shenzhen? Haha. The golden hoop was made when Dao controlled the flood. The four seas existed before Dao controlled the flood, but there was no Dinghe Shenzhen. The so-called Dinghe Shenzhen is just a nice word. This time, the 8 immortals killed the second prince of the East China Sea. How could the dragon clan let the 8 immortals go if they are so protective? Now that the 8 immortals are no longer protected by the heavenly Dao, it will be much easier for the dragon clan to kill them. The battle between the Four Seas Dragon Kings and Laojin shocked all the immortals, and many of the immortals who looked down on the dragon clan stopped looking down on them. Seeing that the 5 people were fighting hard, the remaining dragons surrounded the 8 immortals, wanting to kill them when Laojin could not protect them. There are many masters in the dragon clan, and now with more people against fewer people, how can the 8 immortals be their opponents? Moreover, they were injured before, and now they are no match for a large group of dragons. Seeing that the 8 people were about to be beaten to death by the dragon clan, suddenly 2 rays of light enveloped them and helped them block all attacks. The dragon clan and the 8 immortals looked up and saw that the glowing thing was a ruler-shaped magic weapon and an apricot yellow flag. No one recognized the ruler magic weapon, but the apricot yellow flag was really familiar. Just over 100 years ago, this flag shocked all the gods and Buddhas in the sky. Wuji apricot yellow flag. Taishang Laojin and the Four Seas Dragon Kings stopped fighting when they saw the flag. Although the 8 immortals had never seen the apricot yellow flag, they had heard of it from other gods. Looking up, the 8 immortals felt a little embarrassed when they saw Huayan and Cao Xianoyang manipulating magic weapons not far away. What kind of vision do they have? They actually treat the great gods as shrimps. The 8 immortals could not help but start to reflect on themselves. It seems that they think that they are the 8 immortals of Shangdong, which makes them more amazing than other gods. They are a little arrogant and do things recklessly. Just like the 8 immortals crossing the sea. If they hadn't shown off, they wouldn't have provoked the East China Sea Dragon clan. In the final analysis, the 8 immortals have a great part of the responsibility for this matter. If they were more cautious, this fight would not have happened. After self-reflection, the mentality of the 8 immortals changed, and their attitude towards people and things changed a lot since then. The Dragon King of the East China Sea said with an unpleasant expression, "What do you two mean? Why do you want to protect the 8 immortals?" Su Qingni flew to the side of Huayan and saluted to the 5 big men. "Greetings to Laojin, greetings to the Dragon King. Dragon King, the 8 immortals and the 4 of us are acquainted and are our friends. Can you let them go this time for our sake?" The Dragon King of the East China Sea said hatefully, "Let them go? Then will they let my poor son go? They killed my son. How can I, as a father, not avenge my son?" Su Qingni took out a box from her arms and threw it to the Dragon King of the East China Sea. "How about using this thing in exchange for you giving up seeking revenge on the 8 immortals?" The Dragon King of the East China Sea snorted coldly. How could a magic weapon be worth his son's life? Even if this magic weapon was given by a saint's disciple, it might be a magic weapon of the same level as the Wujizing Wang flag and the Jin Kunding. The Dragon King of the East China Sea raised his hand to catch the box, opened it and took a look, and immediately closed the lid of the box. "Okay. We dragons won't care about this matter anymore, but we hope the 8 immortals won't provoke us dragons again," the Dragon King of the East Sea said coldly. "Big brother." The other 3 Dragon Kings were very puzzled. The Dragon King of the East Sea raised his hand and made a gesture to stop their questions, saying that he would talk about it when he got back. Although the 3 Dragon Kings were full of questions, they didn't say anything. They knew that the Dragon King of the East Sea was not someone who could be easily bribed by a magic weapon. It can only be said that the things Su Qingni gave were very important to their dragons. The 8 immortals were relieved when they heard the words of the Dragon King of the East Sea. Tigui Li spoke on behalf of the other 7 people. "Thank you, Dragon King, for your generosity. We were wrong this time, and we apologize to the Dragon King. From now on, we 8 immortals will never conflict with the dragons again." After that, the 8 immortals bowed to the Dragon King to apologize. The Dragon King of the East Sea snorted coldly, flicked his sleeves, turned around and left, and walked into the sea. The other 3 dragons hurriedly called the dragons and a group of water soldiers to follow the Dragon King of the East Sea and enter the sea together. After a while, all the aquatic creatures left and the sea returned to calm. Chapter 821 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself 33 Laojin brought the 8 immortals to thank Su Qingni and the other 3. Laojin did not expect that the Dragon Clan had been hiding their abilities all these years. Now that the 8 immortals have reached the end of their destiny, they are no longer protected by their luck. The Dragon Clan might really be able to kill the 8 immortals this time. Fortunately, the 8 immortals met the 2 sons of Queen Mulan when their luck was still there. Because of the intervention of the saint, the fate of these 2 children was no longer in the way of heaven, so they were able to save the 8 immortals. Laojin was of high status, and after talking to Su Qingni and the other 4, he returned to the Tushita Palace. The 8 immortals and Su Qingni and the other 4 began to talk and laugh in a relaxed manner. The 8 immortals thanked Su Qingni and the other 4, and were quite curious about what Su Qingni gave to the Dragon King of the East China Sea. What could have made the Dragon King of the East China Sea give up his revenge for killing his son? Su Qingni just smiled and said, "A magic weapon is not of much use to us, but it is very important to the Dragon Clan." But Su Qingni did not say what the treasure was or what the treasure was called. The 8 immortals did not ask any more questions, but Huayan relied on his brother's relationship and secretly asked Su Qingni what the treasure was. "Did the master give it to you?" "No." Su Qingni shook her head. "When we went to the Heavenly Palace to hang out, I took something from the Heavenly Palace treasury when I passed by it." Well, the 2 of them took more than one thing from the Heavenly Palace treasury. Huayan had 2 treasures in his hand that he took from the Heavenly Palace treasury. But they knew their limits, and the treasures they took were not very eye-catching. In the Crystal Palace of the East China Sea, the anxious Dragon King of the South China Sea asked the Dragon King of the East China Sea before he sat down, what Su Qingni gave him that made his protective elder brother give up his revenge. The Dragon King of the East China Sea did not answer, but opened the protective formation of the Crystal Palace. This cautious look made the 3 Dragon Kings and the rest of the Dragon Clan become cautious. It must be a very extraordinary treasure, so the Dragon King of the East China Sea attaches so much importance to it. Could it be the legendary Donghuang Bell? Or is it the mountain and river map of Nuer? Or is it the 4 swords of Xuxin of Tongshan? It would be great if it was the 4 swords of Xuxin. Then they would also set up a Xuxin sword formation, and see who dares to come and bully their Dragon Clan. They would just use this Xuxin sword formation to destroy them. Everyone stared at the box in the hands of the Dragon King of the East China Sea with burning eyes. The Dragon King of the East China Sea took a deep breath, opened the lid of the box, and took out the things in the box. A black light flew out of the box and landed on the ground of the Crystal Palace, turning into a platform with a length, width and height of 10 meters. On the platform was a black guillotine, emitting a light that frightened the Dragon Clan. Many young dragons with low cultivation could not stand the power of this platform and the guillotine, and actually collapsed to the ground and turned into their original forms. Even the Dragon Kings of the 4 seas turned a little pale when facing this platform and the guillotine. This is the beheading, the dragon beheading platform. It's the dragon beheading platform, the 4 seas Dragon Kings spoke. They naturally knew the dragon beheading platform. The older and more experienced dragons also recognized the dragon beheading platform. Only the young dragons only felt the horror of the platform and the guillotine, but did not know what they were. The dragon beheading platform, as the name suggests, is used to behead dragons. The threat to the Dragon Clan is very strong. No matter how powerful the Dragon Clan is, when facing the dragon beheading platform, they will feel fear from the bottom of their hearts and will not be able to use more than 30% of their strength. As long as the Dragon Clan goes on the dragon beheading platform, they will definitely die. The Dragon Clan is originally a powerful race, in charge of the 4 seas, and they don't have to be bound by the Heavenly Court. But why do they have to bow down to the Heavenly Court, listen to the Heavenly Court's orders, and be humble? It is because the Heavenly Court has the dragon beheading platform. With the dragon beheading platform, the Heavenly Court has strangled the lifeline of the Dragon Clan. As long as the dragons don't listen to the Heavenly Court, the Heavenly Court will release the dragon slashing platform, and no matter whether they are the Dragon Kings of the 4 seas or ordinary dragons, they will die on the dragon slashing platform. Because of the threat of the dragon slashing platform, the Dragon King of the West Sea had to give up his 3rd son, let him become a white dragon horse, and join a Buddhist sect. Because of the threat of the dragon slashing platform, the Dragon King of Jing River only slightly violated the will of the Jade Emperor and had his dragon head chopped off. The dragons themselves are not weak, but in order not to make the Heavenly Court afraid, they have to keep their tails between their legs and be dragons. They dare not show their powerful strength, and they will specially raise 1 or 2 young dragons to waste, and then let them go out to toss, so that other gods will look down on the dragons because of them. Why were the dragon kings of the 4 seas so angry about the death of the second prince of the East China Sea, and had to kill the 8 immortals to avenge the second prince? Because they deliberately raised the second prince of the East China Sea to waste, and they gave up on their own initiative, and they all felt guilty about the second prince of the East China Sea. After his death, they were determined to avenge him so that they could feel better. However, compared with a dragon-slashing platform, the second prince of the East Sea is nothing. In order to obtain the dragon-slashing platform, the dragon clan can forget about the 8 immortals killing the second prince of the East Sea. The dragon-slashing platform is related to the safety of the entire dragon clan. Even if a few more dragon princes die, they will choose the dragon-slashing platform instead of seeking revenge on their enemies. The tears of the dragon kings of the 4 seas flowed. With the dragon-slashing platform in the hands of their dragon clan, there is nothing in the heavenly court that can threaten the dragon clan anymore, and they no longer have to bow down to the heavenly court. The dragon clan has been forbearing for so many years, it's time to rise. A month later, the dragon kings of the 4 seas simultaneously announced that the dragon clan would be independent and withdraw from the management of the heavenly court. From then on, the 4 seas and the rivers, lakes and seas of the mortal world all belonged to the jurisdiction of the dragon clan and had nothing to do with the heavenly court. After hearing this announcement, the Jade Emperor was extremely angry and asked his men to go to the treasury to find the dragon-slashing platform. He wanted to kill all these daring dragons. However, the general who went to find the dragon-slashing platform came back and told the Jade Emperor, the dragon-slashing platform was gone. The dragon-slaying platform is gone. No wonder the dragons dared to rebel against heaven. It turns out that the dragons had long harbored evil intentions and had made far-reaching calculations. They secretly stole the dragon-slaying platform, leaving heaven with nothing to threaten them. Damn it. Ao Guang, Ao Qin, Ao Shun, Ao Run, do you think that without the dragon-slaying platform, I can't do anything to you? I have so many heavenly soldiers and generals, I don't believe I can't take you down. Send an order to have Heavenly King Li with a pagoda lead the 4 heavenly kings, Nezi the 3rd prince, the 28 mansions, the 9 stars, the 12 Yuanjin, the 5 directions GD, the 4 valued officials, the east and west stars, the 2 gods of the north and south, the 5 mountains and 4 rivers, and the stars of the universe, and mobilize 300,000 heavenly soldiers to capture the dragons. The gods in heaven took action, but it is unknown how many of them were just going through the motions and not putting in any effort. Anyway, many of these gods have a very good relationship with the dragon clan, and some of them have a close or distant relationship with the dragon clan. And the result of this expedition by heaven, once again returned in defeat. The dragon clan fully demonstrated their strength. Chapter 822 The Little Monster Who Saved Himself. The dragon clan fully demonstrated their strength. In addition to the 4 sea dragon kings who are all in the late stage of Daluo-Jingxin, the dragon clan also has many Daluo-Jingxin, and there are also many Taiji-Jingxin below. In terms of high-end combat power, it can be completely on par with the heavenly court. As for low-end combat power, there are many creatures in the water. The heavenly soldiers and generals returned home in defeat again. This is the 3rd time. The first time was against Monkey King, the second time was against Su Qingni and Huan, and the 3rd time was against the Dragon Clan. They were defeated 3 times in a row. The prestige of the heavenly court is getting lower and lower, and many gods have small thoughts in their hearts. The Jade Emperor was very angry, but he really couldn't do anything about the Dragon Clan. All the heavenly soldiers and generals sent were beaten back by the Dragon Clan. The Jade Emperor could only watch the Dragon Clan become independent. The Lian Temple in the west is in the same situation as the heavenly court. After the Dragon Clan became independent, the little white dragon Aola left the Lian Temple and returned to the West Sea. However, the Buddha is more open-minded than the Jade Emperor. Since the rise of the Dragon Clan is inevitable, he should make friends with the Dragon Clan and don't let himself have more enemies. The Dragon Clan soon reached a friendly cooperative relationship with the West, which made the Jade Emperor even more vomiting blood. How could the world become like this? Not only the Jade Emperor couldn't figure it out, but even the Buddha couldn't figure it out. It was the 2 sons of Kimu Lang. The Jade Emperor and the Buddha thought of an accident at the same time. It was because these two people who should have died but didn't die appeared in the sight of the immortals that many things deviated from the route prescribed by the heaven. These two people are variables. The rise of the Dragon Clan is definitely related to them. Before, the two people gave the Dragon King of the East China Sea something. After the Dragon King of the East China Sea got the thing, he even let go of the revenge for killing his son, which shows that the thing is definitely very important to the Dragon Clan. Thinking of the dragon-slashing platform that disappeared for no reason in the Heavenly Palace treasury, the Jade Emperor thought he knew what the thing was. It's so abominable. The two sons of Kim Ulang actually stole things from his treasure house! Exclamation mark. He wanted to chop them up, he couldn't chop them to death. The two men have top-notch protective magic weapons in their hands. No one can break the defense of the Wuji Xinghuang flag and the Qiankanding, unless the saint descends. Then cut off the Kimu wolf that created them? Forget it. If Kimu wolf is killed, what if these two guys run to the Heavenly Palace for revenge? I am not the opponent of the two boys. The Jade Emperor felt more and more aggrieved, and a mouthful of old blood suddenly spurted out. Rolling his eyes, the Jade Emperor fainted. After an unknown amount of time, the Jade Emperor woke up, and his momentum underwent a huge change. The Jade Emperor now is majestic without anger, and exudes the momentum of a quasi-saint. This is not a momentum that only Zhang Yuan, who has the cultivation of Tai Jingxin, can have. So the current Jade Emperor is no longer Zhang Yuan, but the real Jade Emperor, the Jade Emperor of the prehistoric world. The netherworld has been connected to this world, swallowing up the projection of the underworld in this world. Naturally, the Heavenly Palace and the Western Lian Temple of the prehistoric world also received the projection of this world. The Jade Emperor received the memory from the Jade Emperor of this world, and couldn't help but smile bitterly. This white fog should be the one that great God Qingni traveled through? He actually used the fictional Yang patriarch in the online novel to deceive people. At the same time, the Buddha in the West was also smiling bitterly. Both of them had seen Su Qingni, and they also knew that Su Qingni had traveled through various worlds. They dared not provoke such a great god. But then they laughed again. Great God Su traveled through time well, and he also took them to more worlds, and brought more heavens and the West in the world into his hands, and obtained more resources and beliefs from the world. Should we back up the heavy gifts for Great God Su? Su Qingni had separated from the 8 immortals, and took Huayan, Cao Xianoyang and Su Chang'ai back to the island where they lived. As soon as she landed, Su Qingni felt 2 powerful auras. This is the Jade Emperor and the Buddha. They have also come to this world. I am a pioneer for them. Should I charge those 2 for their hard work? Su Qingni smiled at Huayan, Cao Xianoyang and Su Chang'ai and said, I suddenly realized something and need to go into seclusion. Then go quickly. Huayan said hurriedly. This opportunity to go into seclusion after realizing something is very important for cultivators and cannot be delayed. Su Qingni looked at Huayan and the other 2 deeply, left her a word take care, and flew into her palace, then closed the palace and pretended to be in seclusion for cultivation. In fact, Su Qingni was leaving this world. She compiled a memory of Bai Wu practicing with the Yang patriarch and stuffed it into the original body's brain. The remaining memory of escaping with Huayan and relying on each other for life. Su Qingni did not make any changes, but deepened it a little, making Bai Wu think from the bottom of his heart that the person with Huayan was himself. After compiling the memory, Su Qingni left the knockoff version of Qiankanding and other magic weapons to Bai Wu, and then left his body and left this world. Bai Wu opened his eyes and found that he had fallen asleep in his own palace. Wiping the saliva from the corner of his mouth, Bai Wu felt a little embarrassed. I came here to practice in seclusion, how come I fell asleep? Bai Wu didn't doubt that he was not the person who had been with Huayan for more than 100 years. He naturally regarded Huayan as his brother and Cao Xianoyang and Su Chang'ai as his friends. Bai Wu calmed down, crossed his legs again, and began to practice in meditation. I said I would practice in seclusion, so I would practice in seclusion for a while. Su Qingni returned to the netherworld and took out the 2 pieces of the Ancestor Witch's true spirit fragments she found. These 2 pieces of the Ancestor Witch's true spirit fragments were found on Cao Xianoyang and Su Chang'ai. If it weren't for the Ancestor Witch's true spirit fragments on them, she wouldn't have cared for the 2 people so much and personally led them to the immortal path. Thankfully, the upper limit of the power that this world can accommodate is large enough, allowing her to have enough power to take the Ancestor Witch's true spirit fragments out of the 2 people's souls. Otherwise, they would both become immortals and their lifespans would increase significantly. When would she take back the two true spirit fragments? Su Qingni felt that this world was similar to the prehistoric world, and there should be more ancestor-witch true spirit fragments. But let's leave the job of finding the fragments to Lady Pingxin. She prefers challenging pioneering work to logistics. But why is there no Donghuangtai in this world? Doesn't Donghuangtai like this world? Is it because of the heaven? After all, the heaven was originally built by him and his eldest brother, but it was occupied by others. The Jade Emperor of this world is completely incomparable to the Demon Emperor Dijun, so Tai doesn't come to this world. Out of sight, out of mind? Su Qingni hasn't seen Donghuangtai for several worlds in a row, and she is in a bad mood. I hope to see Tai in the next world. Otherwise, she doesn't know if she will turn evil again. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 823, The Cannon Fodder's Mother. Su Qingni woke up in the emergency room of the hospital. The original owner died on the way to the hospital. When she arrived at the hospital, her heart had stopped beating. However, the doctors were very ethical and did not give up on rescuing the original owner. The person was saved, but the core was replaced. Su Qingni received the original owner memory. There are two sections of memory. The first section is the memory of the original owner from birth to 30 years old. The original owner came from an ordinary family, with parents and a younger brother. The parents were a little patriarchal and preferred their younger brother, but they were also okay with their daughter. The original owner was a hard-working person. He had good academic performance since childhood and was admitted to the best university in the country. The original owner was also good-looking and had many suitors when he entered university. The original owner finally chose his classmate Han Wishuo. Han Wishuo's family conditions were better than the original owners, but they were only well off, not a rich second generation. But both of them were very hard-working and capable. They started a business when they were in college and created a small company. In a few years, the two people expanded the company and they also joined the ranks of wealthy people. Well, although in the eyes of those wealthy people, they are nothing. But there is a company with an annual income of over 10 million, a villa and a car. The original owner married Han Wishuo as soon as she graduated from college, and soon she became pregnant and gave birth to a daughter. Successful career, harmonious family. The couple is the object of envy and jealousy of many people. But such a good life only lasted until the original owner was 28 years old. When the original owner was 28 years old, she went to visit a client's home, but she didn't expect that the client was kidnapped. The original owner was unlucky and was killed by the kidnappers. She was knocked unconscious and pushed into the sea. The original owner was lucky and did not drown. She could swim and woke up after falling into the sea, but the original owner was not strong enough. She had no strength before swimming to land and sank into the sea. But the original owner was still lucky. She was rescued by a fishing boat from a neighboring country. It was just because she was in the sea for too long, her brain was damaged, and the original owner lost her memory. She didn't have any documents to prove her identity, so she couldn't contact her family, so she had to live in a neighboring country. Without any documents or education, the original owner could not find a good job in the neighboring country and could only work in a Chinese restaurant, which was extremely hard. 6 years passed like this. The original owner encountered a car accident while delivering takeout and was killed. Before her death, the original owner recovered her memory, but she had no chance to go home, and could no longer see her husband and beloved daughter. The original owner left the world with regrets. Su Qingni recited the mantra of rebirth to the original owner and promised her that she would return to China to visit her husband and daughter. The main cause of the car accident was a rich second generation who was racing on the street. The family of the rich second generation did not want their son to go to jail, so they gave Su Qingni, the victim, a large amount of money, hoping that Su Qingni would not pursue the matter. Su Qingni happened to be short of money now, so she naturally accepted it without hesitation. But after her injuries were almost healed, she exposed the black history of the rich second generation on the internet. The rich second generation did a lot of illegal things, all of which were suppressed by their family with money. It's just that this time all the black material was exposed, and his family could no longer use money to suppress the unified online demands for severe punishment of the rich second generation. In the end, the rich second generation went to prison to atone for the mistakes he had made. Of course, this is all later. Now Su Qingni is still injured and lying in the hospital. The original owner has worked hard for many years, and his food and accommodation are not good, and his health has become very poor. This car accident has greatly damaged the original owner's body. Even if he didn't die this time, the original owner would not live for more than 5 years. What Su Qingni has to do now is to take care of her body. There is no extraordinary power in this world, but it can practice the exercise as of health preservation. The compensation given by the rich second generation's family has been received, and Su Qingni did not treat herself badly. She hired a diligent nurse for herself and asked the nurse to buy expensive but nutritious meals for herself every day. Su Qingni learned from a nurse that her brother opened a store specializing in selling computers, so she entrusted the nurse to buy a laptop from her brother's store and bring it to the hospital. With a computer, Su Qingni has a way to make money. This world also has a dark web where hackers take orders. Su Qingni took 2 orders online and completed the orders in less than half a day. $1 million was added to the newly opened account. Now there is no need to worry about money. Su Qingni hacked into the Household Registration Management Center of this country again and applied for an identity certificate for herself. After staying in the hospital for a month, Su Qingni was discharged. First, I went to the restaurant where the original owner worked and resigned to the boss and the boss's wife. The boss and the boss's wife are not bad people, but they are not kind people. They took in the original owner so that the original owner would not be homeless, but they made the original owner do the heaviest work for many years, but the salary was not high. The original owner did not owe them, did not thank them, and did not resent them. The boss and the boss's wife were reluctant to let Su Qingni go. Where could they find another such a cheap and hard-working laborer? But Su Qingni insisted on leaving, and they could not stop her. Su Qingni was not the original owner. Now Su Qingni has money in her hands and an identity certificate from this country. She is not an illegal resident, so where can she not go? Su Qingni did not leave this small country for the time being. She first found a temporary residence to live in and began to regulate the body of her original body. This small country used to be a vassal state of China, so Chinese traditional medicine still has a large market in this country. There are also Chinese medicine shops and old Chinese medicine practitioners in some cities. The city where Su Qingni is now is a second-tier city in this country. There is only one Chinese medicine shop in the whole city. However, the scale of the shop is not small. The boss is a Chinese, and he imports Chinese medicinal materials directly from China, so the medicinal materials in the shop are very complete. This shop can buy all the medicinal materials that Su Qingni needs. It's just that the price is not cheap, at least 7 or 8 times more expensive than in China. But what Su Qingni lacks the least is money. After buying all the medicinal materials, Su Qingni began to drink medicine and take medicinal baths every day. The original owner's body was too damaged. Even with the health-preserving exercises, it took Su Qingni half a year to completely regulate her body. Su Qingni was also preparing to return home. After all, she had promised the original owner to visit her husband and daughter, and to take care of the original owner's daughter. After so many years, the original owner's husband and daughter must have gotten used to life without the original owner, right? Su Qingni was not the original owner. She would not go back to find the original owner's husband and daughter without investigating everything clearly. In the past 6 months, Su Qingni investigated the affairs of the original owner's husband and daughter over the years through the internet. Sure enough, Han Wishuo had remarried. Their daughter called another woman mom. Chapter 824, The Cannon Fodder's Mother Part 2. The kidnapping case was solved when the client was successfully rescued by the police and the kidnappers were all arrested. The police concluded from the kidnapper's confession that the original owner was dead, and told the news to the original owner's husband and parents. Although the husband and parents were sad, they still had to live their lives, and time could make the original owner no longer important. A year later, Han Wishuo met a beautiful actress, He Lanchu. He Lanchu was only a 3rd or 4th tier actress, and was not particularly good looking in the entertainment industry, but in the eyes of ordinary people, she was a great beauty. He Lanchu was very good at being a person, and had a very good external image. In Han Wishuo's eyes, He Lanchu was gentle, kind, and not materialistic. Haha. and would not sell herself for the opportunity to become famous and money, haha. Han Wishuo fell in love with He Lanchu and married He Lanchu half a year later. He and the original body's daughter Han Niangniang did not object at all, but were very happy to have He Lanchu as a mother. Again, He Lanchu was very good at being a person. It was too easy for He Lanchu, who had been in the entertainment industry for many years, to conquer a little girl who was only 7 or 8 years old. Han Wishuo hasn't even proposed to He Lanchu yet, but Han Niangniang has already called He Lanchu mom. Han Wishuo was able to marry He Lanchu so quickly, and Han Niangniang's approval of He Lanchu was partly the reason. Otherwise, even if Han Wishuo liked He Lanchu very much, marriage is not a one-person thing, and there are many factors to consider. Han Wishuo will definitely consider it for a while. After He Lanchu married Han Wishuo, she retired from the entertainment industry, but she did not break off her contact with the entertainment industry. Occasionally, she would use the money given to her by Han Wishuo to invest in her friends' movies or TV series. This kind of investment has both losses and gains, but most of the time it is still profitable. Relying on such behavior, He Lanchu maintained their connections in the entertainment industry. After He Lanchu married Han Wishuo, she took He Wengxin, a child of the same age as Han Niangniang, to the Han family on the grounds that Han Niangniang was too lonely. He Wengxin is a very sensible and well-behaved child. She can tolerate Han Niangniang's temper as a big lady. Her timid appearance makes Han Wishuo feel pity for her and take more care of her sincerely. What Han Wishuo doesn't know is that He Wengxin is not actually He Lanchu's niece, but He Lanchu's biological daughter. He Lanchu is not as good as she appears to be. In order to get ahead, He Lanchu can also sell herself out. He Wengxin is her daughter who was born to someone else as a mistress, but this matter is very secretive. Except for the sponsor and herself, no one knows who He Wengxin's biological father is. He Lanchu is unwilling to be a mistress and wants to be the sponsor's wife and become a noble lady. The sponsor still likes He Lanchu very much, and also wants to divorce the yellow-faced woman at home and marry He Lanchu. However, the sponsor's wife is not a soft person. After discovering that the sponsor has the idea of divorcing herself, she simply and decisively takes action, causing the sponsor to die in a car accident and accepts the sponsor's inheritance. The means of the gold owner's wife frightened He Lanchu. He Lanchu didn't care about exposing herself as the gold owner mistress, let alone exposing her daughter, so she gave her daughter to her eldest brother and his wife who had been married for 3 years and had no children. Because of this incident, He Lanchu felt that being a mistress for others was a dangerous thing, and she never hooked up with married women again. This is the real reason why she looks like a clear stream in the entertainment industry, not because she doesn't want to, but because she doesn't dare. He Lanchu's brother and sister-in-law already have their own children. Although they are still very good to He Wengxin, they are definitely not as good as their own flesh and blood. It happened that He Lanchu got married, so she found a reason to take her daughter to her side and raise her. Now Han Wishuo and He Lanchu's family of 4 live very well. Although Han Niangniang occasionally bullies He Wengxin, Han Niangniang is kind by nature, and she won't go too far even if she bullies He Wengxin. He Wengxin is as good as her mother, coaxing Han Niangniang very happy and treating her as her best friend and best sister. He Lanchu also coaxed Han Wishuo very well, and is a good wife and mother in the eyes of the Han family. This family of 4 is so happy and beautiful, with loving parents and filial daughters. Han Niangniang has forgotten her own mother. Every year on the death anniversary of the original owner, Han Niangniang has never visited the original owner's tomb to worship. She, as a biological daughter, is not as good as the original owner's brother. The original owner's brother would go to the original owner's tomb to burn paper every Qingming festival. The original owner's parents still remember their daughter. Although they are more partial to their son, their daughter is also their flesh and blood. Because they miss their son, the original owner's parents want to take Han Niangniang, their granddaughter, to their side to raise for a while. But Han Niangniang didn't buy it at all. She was not close to her grandparents at all. She would rather stay with her stepmother He Lanchu than go to the Su family. Seeing their granddaughter like this, the Su family's parents were very disappointed and gave up their thoughts. Since then, the relationship between the Su family and the Han family has become more and more distant, and there has been no contact in the past 2 years. Seeing these materials, Su Qingni chose to continue to stay in the neighboring country to repair the original owner's body, and did not run back to find her daughter as soon as she recovered her memory. She felt that Han Niangniang would probably not recognize her as her biological mother. Now that her body has been completely recovered, Su Qingni began to prepare for her return to China. Su Qingni took a few more orders on the internet, which increased the number in her bank account. The money was for buying a house when she returned to China. The city where her original body lived was a first-tier city in China, and the housing prices were very scary. If she didn't make more money, how could she buy a house to live in? Moreover, Su Qingni planned to buy 3 houses, one for herself, one for her original body's parents and brother, to thank them for remembering her original body. One for Han Yuan. Although this daughter may not care about such a house. But since she occupied the body of someone else's biological mother, she must leave something for her daughter. The Han family looks okay now, but who knows in the future. Han Yuan is such a heartless little girl, and she may still count money for others after being sold. In order to prevent her from being driven out of the Han family and having nothing in the future, she should save more private houses for the little girl now. With such a heart, Su Qingni returned to China and returned to the city where the original owner lived. Su Qingni bought 3 houses first. Because she didn't want to lose contact with her original family, she bought these 3 houses in different places. The houses for Han Yuan and the Su family were slightly closer, while the house where Su Qingni lived was in another urban area far away. One in the south and one in the north. It takes more than an hour to drive there. The house she lived in was a model house that had been renovated and could be moved in with just her luggage, saving Su Qingni a lot of trouble. Chapter 825, The Cannon Fodder's Mother Part 3. After the house was settled, Su Qingni bought a scooter and then went to visit the original body's parents and brothers with a gift she bought. The original body's parents lived with her younger brother. The family's living conditions were just ordinary, living in a 3-bedroom, 2-living-room house. As the younger brother's twin children grew up, the house was no longer big enough. The family was saving money to buy a new house, but Su Qingni came back, so they didn't have to spend their own money to buy a house. Su Qingni bought a 5-bedroom, 2-living-room house, which was big enough for the Su family to live in. When Su Qingni appeared downstairs at the Su family, no one else was surprised. This was not the neighborhood where the original body grew up, and the neighbors here didn't know Su Qingni. Now this house is the wedding house of the Su family's younger brother. The Su family's parents sold the old house and bought a house with the sponsorship of the original body. Su Qingni walked all the way to the Su family's door without any obstacles and knocked on the door. At this time, the younger brother Su and his sister-in-law were at home, but it was the younger brother Su's daughter Su Hong who opened the door. "Who are you? Who are you looking for?" Su Hong asked politely. Su Hong was only 4 years old when the original body got into trouble. The child had already forgotten the appearance of the original body. Su Qingni smiled slightly. "You are Xiao Hong, right? I am your aunt, looking for your father." Aunt? Su Hong thought that she had an aunt, but she was dead. Was the woman in front of her father's cousin? "Dad, someone is looking for you, saying it is my aunt." Su Hong shouted. "Who is it?" Brother Su also thought that it was a relative who came to the door, and walked out of his bedroom. "Qingming, long time no see." Su Qingni smiled and greeted Brother Su. The water cup in Brother Su's hand fell to the ground, and Brother Su's teeth trembled. "Sister, sister." Oh my, his sister who had been dead for many years is back. It's not dark yet? Isn't her sister afraid of the sun? Su's father and mother heard the noise and walked into the living room, and all the things in their hands fell to the ground. Su's mother burst into tears. "My poor daughter, are you not having a good time down there so you came up to find us? But humans and ghosts have different paths, you'd better leave quickly." "Don't worry, I will ask your brother to give you paper money and burn it for you. All those paper houses, cars, mobile phones, electrical appliances and so on will be burned for you. I will also burn a few paper people for you, let them serve you in the underworld." Su Qingni. Su Qingni said with a frown, "Mom, I'm not dead." Zhang Xiaoping, the sister-in-law, didn't believe in ghosts very much. Although she was a little scared when she saw Su Qingni's face just now, the fear disappeared immediately after hearing what Su Qingni said. Zhang Xiaoping stepped forward and touched Su Qingni's hand with her hand. It was warm. Well, it was definitely not a ghost. "Mom and Dad, Qingming is alive. My eldest sister is still alive. My eldest sister is back alive," Zhang Xiaoping said to the people in the room. Su's mother paused for a moment, then started crying again, but she changed her words. "My poor daughter, you are finally back. Where have you been all these years? Do you know that your husband and daughter have been taken away by someone? My poor daughter, no one wants you now." Su Qingni's face was covered with more black lines. Zhang Xiaoping's mouth twitched after hearing these words, and she quickly supported Su's mother, persuading her not to cry or say anything. Didn't you see that the expression on the eldest sister's face was very ugly? What if the eldest sister couldn't bear it anymore and turned around and left? Su Qingming was no longer afraid after knowing that Su Qingni was alive, and quickly let Su Qingni into the house. Seeing his daughter come back alive, Su's father was happy in his heart, and a smile appeared on his face, but his eyes were wet. The family entered the living room, and the Su family sat in a row on the L-shaped sofa. Su Qingni moved a chair and sat opposite Su's father and mother. The two children of the Su family were very curious about this aunt, who was determined to have died a long time ago but suddenly appeared. Their eyes were always glued to Su Qingni, and they looked at Su Qingni carefully. Su Qingni smiled slightly, took out 2 red envelopes and handed them to the two children. The two children looked at their parents, and when they saw them nod, they took the red envelopes and thanked Su Qingni. "You're welcome. I haven't given you New Year's red envelopes for so many years, and I'll make up for it this time. Qingni, where have you been all these years? Why didn't you come back? What happened at the beginning? Why did those kidnappers say you were dead?" Su's father asked a series of questions, which were also the questions that others were eager to know. Su Qingni recounted the experience of her original body. The car accident restored my memory, but I was seriously injured in the car accident. I rested for a long time before I recovered and came back to find you. My poor daughter. Su's mother started crying again. Su Qingni twitched her mouth and had to comfort Su's mother, saying that everything was over and that she had finally gotten better after all the hardship. Everything is in the past. Su's mother cried, "Your husband and daughter were taken away by someone. What are you going to do when you come back this time?" Su Qingni said, "Well, my sister and Han Wishuo are not divorced. They are still husband and wife, right? Is Han Wishuo guilty of bigamy now?" Zhang Xiaoping said, "It shouldn't be. The police gave the news of my elder sister's death, her information has been deleted, and her marriage with Han Wishuo is automatically dissolved. But my sister is not dead, she is still alive." Su Qingni said to Su Qingni, "Sister, do you want to go back to the Han family? Do you want to get your husband and daughter back? I will go with you to give you courage." "No need." Su Qingni refused. "I have never thought about going back to the Han family. I will not want a man who has been used by other women. I am not a garbage recycling station, and I will not fight with others for garbage." Su Qingni's impression of Han Wishuo as a man is neither good nor bad. It is normal for a man to marry another wife after his wife is confirmed dead. But Su Qingni stood in the position of the original body and was very unhappy with Han Wishuo's move. What's more, she still has to find her own Taiji, so she doesn't want such a man. Su Qingming. Is the eldest sister very angry with Han Wishuo? Zhang Xiaoping understands Su Qingni. If it were her, she would not want that man anymore. "Qingni, Wishuo didn't betray you, he just thought you were really dead. You might as well give him a chance," Su's father advised. Su's mother also advised, "Yes, Qingni. You are not young anymore, you should have your own family. Yuan is your biological daughter." With the thinking of the older generation such as Su's father and mother, they think that reconciliation between Su Qingni and Han Wishuo is the best choice. As for Han Wishuo's current wife, she is not their daughter, why bother so much? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.